Yeah. Hello, and how y'all doing this evening? Our brothers and sisters, Lindy Endzone back in the building for the touchdown, taking the lead for the Philadelphia Eagles, one video at a time. And, well, haven't dropped buckets for the Dallas Mavericks lately. And, yeah, I am very behind on my team. But, well, at some point, I will get back into it, and the Eagles have grabbed my attention. Ever since the beginning of the season with the intrigue and Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and of the like, and that's not to say the Mavericks didn't because of the head coaching change and everything else with Luka's extension and what have you. But no, we got episode 4 of Touchdown Talk, keeping the show alive, keeping it going. And it's been a minute, but AK, formerly for the Eagles Uncensored podcast, makes his faithful return. And it's good to have you on once more because you already know how the show goes when we do something here, man. We keep the perspectives and opinions as 100 as we can. And that's basically the best way to do it. But good to see you once more. How you doing?
Man, it is great having you back, my guy. No lie. It's been a long time. It's been like 3 months, something like that. You were on a hiatus. We were putting out Lindy Endzone pictures on milk cartons and shit,
Mm-hmm.
But it's an honor to have you back, man. Like I always say, you're one of the best when it comes to the knowledge of football, and your takes that you give. I learn a lot from listening to you talk, man. I could hear you talk all day long, no lie. And it's just great having you back, man. But, another thing I got to say is doubles. Yeah, what? Exactly.
Miss me with that until you beat my Mavs. You're missing me with that. But I'm sure Sixers fans, Sixers fans wouldn't take a liking to that either. But no, you guys got some injury issues you got to work around and COVID protocols and whatnot. I mean, I think last game you didn't have Caruso and Zach LaVine and at least 4 other players were out. So yeah, you can't afford to continue to go through that, especially if you want to make the playoffs.
I know. But hey, I'm satisfied where we sit so far. I won't lie. We've had a good year. We'll get back on track. It'll be okay.
Well, fortunately for me, from all the smack talk Big Play Slay had season, about them Lakers. Oh, Russell Westbrook, man, we got another All-Star
championship, baby.
Yeah. I warned him. I said I don't care about the triple doubles. The man is inefficient, and look how it's plaguing the Lakers. But that's not the here nor there. That's LeBron's fault. I don't got to worry about it. That's all on LeBron. I'm sorry. That's your GM. But
call yourself a king.
We gotta get this Eagles stuff going, man. Because this off season is even just by the day. It just started, unfortunately, with that playoff loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And before I get even further into this, I upgraded my setup a little bit, and I do have to shout out my man. I finally was able to do something with a sticker, but Birdman 951 is now on my display table. Shout out to him for giving me a sticker, and for any other content creator. That's got their own merch and whatnot, if I'm not able to, if I'm not able to like make a donation, so to speak, and get some merch, you can join Birdman over there on the display table. Love to support any other content creators. Quick little note over there. That includes you, AK. If you eventually get your own thing going. You got a spot right there.
All right, sir. No doubt. I will gladly do that once I get it going.
Yeah, but All right, man. Well, we got to talk about this playoff game once more. And I know Sunday is at this point. It feels like that. We can jump in a time travel machine, and it was 10 years ago. Yeah, I know. I know it's already Wednesday evening, and it passed as quickly as it did. But we haven't talked all that much since you haven't been on here, and we got to share our thoughts amongst each other here about what we witnessed in that playoff game and get some perspectives going. Yeah, the Birds did lose 31-15. The score does not display at all. The final score does not display the actual beating that the Eagles took. Because at one point,
Yeah.
it was as bad as 24-0 and then 31-0. I think something like that going into the fourth quarter. And I I gotta say, with the way that it concluded the season, we'll go here first with you, AK. What was your biggest takeaway from the loss, and anything else that stood out to you the most?
Well, listen, man, I'm going to stick with what I've been saying about this loss. I am very proud of this team first and foremost. With everything that these kids have had to endure this offseason and this season alone, being underdogs, being rooted out, saying we were going to have the first overall pick, the second or third, we were only going to win 3 or 4 games, blah, 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 blah. These kids truly overachieved for what we thought that they were going to do. When you sit here with the team that we have and the limited talent that we have on this team, and you make it into the playoffs, props to you, man. Especially whenever everyone counted you out, and you went out there and you showed everyone wrong. Granted, it wasn't the prettiest, but they did it, and that's what matters. So looking ahead into the future, I'm not sure if Brandon Graham or Brandon Brooks is going to retire. If he retires, that probably saves you $15 million cap, which means you go from 60 to 75 million. That's awesome. You can definitely use that. If you restructure Fletch, you save a little bit more money there. Who knows what we're going to do with BG? Maybe we can redo him a little bit, and save a little more cap there. Barnett will, God, get him the hell out of here. Rager, get him out too, and JJ, save some cap there. I will take the $5 million cap hit on Rager for him not to be here anymore. I promise I will. I'd go out and I'd probably get like a Mike Williams 50-50 ball catcher and go and trade for Calvin Ridley or bring in some 2 free agents, however you want to do it. If you want to get Godwin and Mike Williams, I don't give a shit at this point, man. Just fix it. You know what I mean? I want people that my quarterback can trust and people that he knows will be open when he needs them to be. Jalen needs to take his next step forward this offseason. First and foremost, rehab, get better, get that ankle back to 100%, and then go out there, work on your fundamentals and work on your arm. Work on your vision, all that stuff. Study. I'm very happy that we actually, for once, was able to come out today and say that's our quarterback moving forward. Hell, we had to pull teeth just to hear that for Carson at one point. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we didn't have to do that. They were like, yep, this is the way we're going. That's what we're doing. But as far as Sunday, man, we were just outcoached, outmatched, and just outplayed in general. That's what happens when you have experience versus inexperience. There's a lot of people in Tampa who have experience in playoffs. There's a lot of vets on that team, and that just shows. It really does. Now, granted, on the offensive side, not so much. You had Perryman, and you had who's the other dude that they had?
They still had Brashad Perryman. They still had Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard, and Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Tyler Johnson, who came up out of nowhere. I mean, Brady still had plenty of weaponry minus the running game.
Yeah, and Evans looked fucking fine. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to be on one leg." I did not notice one leg out there at all. Like he was on 2 feet and he was going hog wild. So, it's you can really see that Bruce Arians threw the book at Nick, and he wasn't ready for it. This whole team wasn't ready for it, but that's one of our lumps, and you hate to see it, but realistically, we shouldn't have even been there. So us being there, it's a win, bro, for me. I have nothing bad to say. I understand this was an ugly game, but that's going to happen when you are somewhere you shouldn't be. And it proved it. But you got to be happy with it the way it went.
Yeah, and I think it helps in terms of the cushioning that was also provided by other losers in the wild card round, whether it was Kyle Murray laying a complete egg against the Rams and Dak Prescott now matching the same playoff record as Tony Romo. Oh boy, is that embarrassing! $75 million just for that. And I don't want to hear about the officiating. Don't give me that. You shouldn't have been in that position to begin with, down against a team that you thought you were better than. There's no excuses. I'm sorry. Whether it was, like I said, whether it was Dak, whether it was, Kyler Murray, the like, that did provide some cushioning because, Kyler's still a young quarterback, that's kind of growing, even though, people aren't very high in some respects with Cliff Kingsbury, that he starts off hot and then he cools down, and with that sort of thing and all the controversy going on with the Cowboys and how they really feel about Mike McCarthy, and that Kellen Moore's the greatest offensive coordinator ever, and then he isn't, being bipolar on the fence. Like, you guys got to make up your minds here, especially for a team that's a lot better equipped with the skill positions than Jalen had to work with this year, being a first-time starter in the NFL.
And Lindy, can I interrupt you real fast? Well, I want to ask you one question on that, what we're talking about. And what is one thing each team has in common over Jalen Hurts?
One thing that each team has in common?
Over Jalen Hurts.
Well, they have
4 better teams.
Well, I would say they have more than
when
one
you
thing.
look, did you see my tweet I put out either yesterday or the day before, where I was like, Dak and Jalen have the same exact amount of stats. Jalen has 1 more pick and 6 more yards passing than Dak, and Dak had the far better team. So if you're sitting there saying we need to be looking for a quarterback, then Dallas sure as fuck should be looking for one, because he's had 6 years in this league compared to Jalen's 1 year, full year starting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody really said anything about offensive coordinating when he was a rookie in 2016, or he had some great games in 2017 and 2018 and 2019, and them putting up all these points on bad teams, and then for them to win a game when it matters most, they can't do it. It's kind of hard to criticize a team with lesser talent than when the whole fact of you supposed to be long in the playoffs. And I remember saying on, what was it, Friday before the Eagles playoff game, I said arguably the Dallas Cowboys are the worst good NFC team.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it stood true. For it is what it is with the officiating. That kind of stuff happened. But like I said, you shouldn't have been in that position to begin with, to even cause, even have something like that happen. That, was it out of your control? Yes and no. They come out with this quarterback draw out of nowhere, and and the game happens the way it does. But
you don't draw in 14 seconds, my guy. You don't do a fucking QB draw in 14 seconds. And then you got Boomer after the game sitting there. Oh, I don't think Dak knew that the ref had to touch the ball before he could snap it. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? This dude has been in the NFL 6 years. He's played 3 years in college. And he's also played in high school. If he does not know that rule, he should not be an NFL fucking quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a rule every quarterback knows. The ref has to touch it every time. Like, you give it to your center to place, you're only delaying it more. Like, don't do that. Come on.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But, I mean, but in all fairness, I mean, it is what it is. Both teams, between us and the Cowboys, we're on the couch together. But we still have to give credit where credit was due. And I said on Bird Gang's stream yesterday, Sirianni was able to do something in his first year that Joe Judge couldn't in 2 years for the Giants, and that's get his team to the playoffs. Especially with us having the lesser amount of talent than the Giants supposedly had this year, with all these weapons, with them boasting and free agency and John Ross and Kyle Rudolph and Ken and trying to bolster that offensive line a little better, which blew up in their face because they didn't replace who they got rid of. So I mean, and now they're out of a head coach, and they could very well be looking for a quarterback. So I mean, we could be in the Giants situation right now to where they spent that pick on Daniel Jones. He was a top 10 pick in his right, and it's like, well, now they have to contemplate it even more than we have to right now, especially the fact that Jalen Hurts is only 23 years old. I mean, his game looked terrible, but with the context added afterward, and it's not an excuse. It's context.
Yes.
Hurts was playing through ligament issues in his ankle. So everybody talking about how, well, he didn't have the velocity on this throw and he was late and this and that. Well, how often was he trying to not throw off of his back foot, depending on which ankle is hurt? It's ruining his mechanics. Well, not ruining, but it's affecting his mechanics. It's affecting his pocket presence. There's that sort of thing going on. But at the end of the day, if you're the one that puts yourself out there, all that goes to the wayside, and that's where your mental strength comes in, to understand that I can't let this injury hamper me or bother me in the back of my mind. I got to put it where I'm not going to worry about it and go out there and win the football game. And that's what Jalen Hurts tried to do. And to his credit,
I love it.
To his credit, he did the best that he could. But where I get lost is the fact that this is the same team that we played in Week 6. So not only is it up to Hurts to watch the film, it's up to the coaching staff to do their due diligence. You already have the answers to your homework assignment that you should have done, because you faced the same team already and you're facing them in the playoffs. Well, now every mistake that you made is only elevated, that you don't commit the same one again. And what did the Eagles do again? They put more of an emphasis on throwing the ball instead of running the ball. But, of course, circumstances are different. Miles Sanders is coming off of a broken hand that he just had surgery 3 weeks ago for. Jordan Howard is battling on and off with a stinger, and then he had a knee issue at some point. Kenny Gainwell is a rookie. He's not there yet. Boston Scott, as much as I love him, at best he's a low tier number 2 at running back. They didn't activate Jason Huntley. The Eagles were up against it, not only to a superior team, but they were up against it to themselves, and they didn't do enough self-preparation to make themselves look a little more competitive on the big stage in the NFL.
I love this show, man, and I love talking to you. Okay? No lie, because, dude, me and you think so much alike, it's not even funny. All right, first off, you're right, and I call a lot of that having rookie mistakes, and that's as coaches as well. Coaches are going to have rookie mistakes. And some of the things you just mentioned, that's rookie mistakes being a head coach. There are lumps we had to swallow. It sucked, but he's learning from his mistakes. You've seen Nick grow as a head coach throughout the year as well. Yeah. Not just the players, but we've seen Nick grow. And we all love him now. Everybody's like, all right, we're good. We can move on with Nick. It's not Nick we have a problem with. It's JG, right? Okay. So Nick's grown on everyone. But I love what you said about the Jalen Hurts thing because I brought that up last night. One, I admire the hell out of this kid for going out there and playing with torn ligaments in his, and I believe it was his left foot. Okay, so that is his front foot. All right, and like I was saying, if you look at Sunday's game, he was missing everything high. Everything was high. All right, now, first off, I don't ever want to hear anyone ever complain about his arm strength ever again. Did you not see that 70-yard bomb he threw to Quez and he overshot him by 10 yards? Remember that? Like, he's got an arm. The arm is there. You know, obviously.
The throw against the 49ers?
Huh?
The throw against
the one just this past Sunday. The one he bombed from like the 30.
I mean, yeah.
Like, his arm is there. He's definitely got the arm. Okay, what it is his accuracy sucks. He needs to work on that. But that comes with being young. That comes with being inexperienced. He'll work on that. You saw the jump from Carson from year 1 to 2. I expect to see the same from him. You know, I hold him just to them same standards, whoever my quarterback is. All right? Now, here was my theory on why Jalen Hurts' accuracy was off and why he was throwing high and hard. Okay? Because here's the thing. I'm pretty sure, like I said, it was his left foot, which means he, like you said, he was throwing more off his back foot because he couldn't put all his pressure on his left foot. I've torn my Achilles heel. I know what that feels like, and that's painful, man. You know, that took 3 months to get over. I don't even know what ligaments would do to you. That's crazy. But I give him all the props in the world, how tough you would have to be, and the hits that he took in this game to be able to keep playing. Like, dude, that's toughness. I'll give you those props. But if you were that bad, though, my guy, just sit the fuck out. Like, no lie, just sit out. Like, at that point, because I believe his throws were high because he couldn't step forward in the pocket. And like I said, me explaining this, I'm not excusing him one bit. I'm just giving you a theory of why I believe he was missing a lot. Okay? Mm-hmm. When he's stepping up in the pocket, usually you can put as much weight on your front foot as possible to move up. He was not able to do that. So whenever you're sitting there and you're lingering that left foot and you're not putting the weight on it, you're not getting the oomph you want behind the ball. So he was using his actual arm strength and the muscles in his arm to get that extra leverage he needed to compensate for the weight he was not putting on his left foot. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what made the throws higher and faster because he was actually whipping it with his arm. Okay. Now everyone wants to ask, why did he not make that throw to Quez down the middle on that one streak? Okay. He got picked off twice already. All right. He's been missing high all day long. His confidence was shot at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, after you miss and you miss and you miss, and he knew mentally he could not make that throw. Because of how, like you said, his motion was off. Everything was off because it just was. His foot was not allowing him to do the things that Jalen Hurts does. Now, whether or not it was because it hurt more that day than most days, I don't freaking know.
Well, I mean, wasn't he already rolling left, and then he would have – he was either already rolling left or his progression was to the opposite side of the field. So I think at that point, due to, and I'll bring this up as well, Todd Bowles laid the heat on Hurts to where he let his defense blitz 46% of the snaps. 46% of the defensive snaps, Todd Bowles, unleashed the hounds on Hurts. Now, that's not to say that that's a engage 8 and give him the kitchen sink. No, some of these were safety blitzes where he's bringing the safety down, and the one for example, the interception where he was targeting Devontae Smith and where he got picked off by the safety. I think that wasn't the example. There was There was another example, and I can't remember what it was. Oh,
you mean the tip past the Rager?
Yes, it was where they were running. It was where they were running 3 verticals. It was man coverage, so it was already a bad play call because of the fact that our receivers have had issues all year again of beating man coverage and beating their man off the line of scrimmage, a la Jalen Reagor. That was absolutely pathetic. And
Terrible.
outside of the receivers, I have to look at Aaron Moorhead too, because it's also up to him to get these guys a little better prepared and a little more talented in that aspect to be able to beat their man who's right up on them on the line of scrimmage, not just press coverage, but if they're lined up right on you in man coverage, you gotta learn. Somebody's got to teach these guys. Somebody's got to get with them that this is the NFL. You got to learn to beat man coverage, and if you can't, you're not an NFL quality wide receiver, and that's how Jalen Reagor looked in this game. But in that play, that's the kind of blitz that Hurts was seeing a lot of, where Todd Bowles was bringing the safety down. He was coming on the safety came to the safety came to Hurts' strong side. It wasn't the blind side. He came to the strong side. And the other issue that I have with that play is the fact that they had Kenny Gainwell in there to pick up the blitz, a rookie in blitz pickup, when it should have been Jordan Howard. So Hurts is already having to roll left because of the panic, and that scheme in that blitz. Bowles already had some linebackers sitting there, defensive linemen, cluing Jalen Hurts as a spy just to catch him when he goes left. And because of the scramble drill, Reagor did have an open opportunity after just tons of hand fighting with Jamel Dean. He does get open on the scramble, but
it's too late by then.
It's already an off-platform throw. So I mean, there's a lot of it was on Hurts, but a lot of it was also on the amount of pressure that was dialed up against him, because again, this coaching staff did not do their homework in preparation for this game. You're pretty much allowing your opponent to not have to do as much research and as much preparation, because they can play you the exact same way and still win the game.
Well, what they did, Lindy, is they dictated where we put the ball. That's exactly what they did. And as long as they knew where the ball was going, they could dictate how the game went. Because they know if they took his right side away and he could only go left, then all you have to do is cover the left part of the field and you're good.
That's having control. And
now, my question that I asked yesterday, and I wanted to ask you, if Jalen Hurts' strong side is his right side, why would you not play Devontae Smith on the right side all year long?
I know. I have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's his strong side, he likes to roll to, that's the side his arm is the strongest at. Why did you always line him up on his left side? If you're really trying to help this kid, you would have put Devontae Smith on the right side, and you would have put Watkins on the left. That way he was always available on the left side. And you could sit there and say, well, that just makes it easier for him to scheme. Yeah, but Devontae Smith in his own right, he can make people miss. He'll get open. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they could have, and
it is predictable, Rock. I understand that, but you also have to take in Smith's skill set as well. He'll figure out a way to get open.
So based on Trey's comment, because he keeps what I'm about to say as relevant to his comment, because I already had this in the back of my mind. Sirianni, between him, Moorhead, Shane Steichen, Kevin Patullo, those involved in the offense, especially when it comes to the quarterback and the wide receivers. Yeah. Why couldn't they, in the very beginning of the year, why couldn't you suit up Devontae Smith to Hurts' strong side, get him comfortable, build a rapport with Smith, and feature him as your number one target until a defense takes him away, because you already know you have that dependability in Dallas Goedert. So why don't you start earlier in the year, put him on Hurts' strong side, and once he starts to build a rapport and a comfortability with Smith, just reverse it and challenge Hurts to be able to see the entire field instead of limiting him to one side. That also could have been done, because maybe we would have seen a little more growth that way in terms of Hurts' progression, being able to read a defense and how they're taking his playmakers away.
Yeah.
and knowing, and having a better understanding of knowing where to go with the football if read one isn't there or read two isn't there, and he can actually get to a third read or a fourth read, or just however the defense dictates where he goes with the football, even if
Exactly.
it's a scramble drill. Like that could
Mhm.
have been done as well, and we didn't see enough of it.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, and I'm not even going to say Rock for next year, but I 100% agree. I don't understand why Ward was not our slot guy the whole time. Like I understand, like Rager and being where we picked him and all this and that, but dude, come on, man, you can't tell me that you got to work throughout the week. You got practice and shit. You're telling me this kid's just a practice player? Like he's excellent in practice. He does not drop balls in practice, but you throw him in a game and he just chokes the entire fucking time. Like that sucks if that's the case. Because you look back at Ward, he has some very iconic moments for us for clinching games. He's actually not been that bad with his hands. He can catch a ball.
He's had one this year against Washington.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why was Greg Ward not our slot guy the entire time? Greg Ward has proven more to me than what Jalen Rager ever has, and he doesn't play that much. You know what I'm saying? Like Greg Ward should have been the slot the whole time. You should have sat Rager and made him learn. Screw playing the kid. Like
we can't stunt the growth. We can't do that.
What growth? He hasn't shown anything. There's no growth. Anything, he went backwards.
Yeah.
If he was growing, I'd say, okay, I understand you guys keeping him in. But when he's not doing shit, put somebody else in. Greg Ward has been proven to be a good guy. If you would have thrown Greg Ward in the slot, you might have won a couple more games.
Yeah. And, before we get carried away with the Rager talk and getting a little more in depth with the receivers, because we can't save that based on what we heard with Sirianni and Howie Roseman's press conference today. And, we're not even going to touch light on the press conference that Jalen Rager had for himself, because I don't want to hear any of it. You didn't show any of that on the field. That what you were talking about, that you play like you're 6'4" and you can play anywhere on the field, and like, no, you're missing me with that, because you showed Jack and Bleep. That's what he showed. So before
hey, real quick, I want to throw a stat at you about that. You know that there is only 3 wide receivers in NFL history in 16 games in 2 years that had less than 1,000 yards receiving, and there's only 3 people: Hayward Bay, Nelson Aguilar, and now Jalen Rager. We have 2 of those 3 that were just one's on our team and one we just recently got rid of. That's fucking sad. That is sad.
Yeah.
You can't have that, dude. That's not winning.
No, and I don't know what's going to fix it at this point. I don't, but
You've got to go.
We'll get into it.
We'll get to that.
we'll get into it in a little bit. So we've already reached the 33.5-minute mark already, and I think we covered quite a lot so far in terms of staying on topic of the subject, and as opinionated as we have been. So I mean, we've I'm not going to pat myself on the back here, but I think we've had a hell of a show so far, especially when it's just us two. Like call-ins and roundtables, they can last for as long as they can, because there's multiple voices and there's multiple people that can keep conversations going, because it's just one opinion after another, even though you're in agreement. But these are the kinds of conversations that are hard to come by, especially when you're on the same page as somebody else, but you're not afraid to let them go out on a limb and ask those kinds of questions. And I understand you got one for me eventually, but I think the time will come when we.
I already said it. Mine was the part about Jalen using his arm to compensate for the pressure being put on his leg. That's why he was missing.
Yeah.
Like his confidence was completely shot. Like I said, once you miss, man, after a while, you're like, I'm not making that throw. I've already thrown 2. Why the fuck do I want to throw 3? It was just a mental state at that point.
I I seen videos, and in the Eagles content creator community, I did see videos on this to where, if Hurts had this bad of an ankle, why would you play him or do that, or do this or do that, and why would you still put him out there and he should have been on the injury report and yada yada. Well, I mean, guess you're not going to. It's like a mammoth to saber tigers. The mammoth is not going to put itself in the corner on purpose just to get eaten. We're not going to exploit those kinds of things on purpose to the Buccaneers and like give away our weaknesses in that regard. You're not going to do that, especially in a playoff game. I mean, that's just it's shooting yourself in the foot. That's not the kind of mentality to have, regardless of the circumstance, because you're trying to win a football game. You're just not going to.
And I'm going to say it, Lindy, and I don't care how much flack I get, but I'm still going to say it. A half-assed Jalen Reagor is still better than a full 100% Gardner Minshew. Just saying. No matter how you look at this game, Jalen Hurts, my bad. My mind's still on that. Oh, yeah. I really want to get there. But no, a half-assed Jalen Hurts, though, is still a better chance of winning than a full 100% Gardner Minshew, and that's just my opinion. No lie, and I guarantee you that the coaches felt the same way, or they would have started Gardner Minshew. I mean, do you not agree to
that? And we should still be grateful for even having Gardner in the first place, because as much as valuable as it is to try and search for a franchise quarterback, backups are just as valuable. Yeah, I don't know why that's so hard to understand. It's very hard to find a good backup in this league. I mean, Carson has to be thanking Nick Foles for being on that roster to get us to finish the job and get us a damn Lombardi trophy. And of course, there was other factors involved. But imagine if we didn't have a competent backup behind Carson Wentz.
Imagine if it was Nate Sudfeld. We were done.
Yes, we're not winning.
Done. We were done.
So that tells you right there that we should be grateful for having Minshew as a backup, because he came in and did his job. It was against the Jets, but he came in and did his job. And of course, he was overglorified about it, but that's not the here nor there anymore, because we already heard in the press conference that they're committed to Jalen Hurts. Both Howie Roseman and Sirianni have said it. They're committed to Jalen Hurts going into 2022. Now, that's up to you if you want to take what Howie says with either a grain of salt or the entire shaker. That is up to you. But it came from two people, and those two people were the general manager and the head coach. And,
not just that, Lindy, but that one guy, like I said, it was like pulling teeth trying to get that one dude, which is AKA Howie, to just admit that with Carson. But now he comes out and says that for Jalen. That just solidifies it for me more, because he's actually saying it.
Yeah, and that's why there's speculation on it, because Howie did the same thing for Carson, even though it pulled teeth, like you said. He did the same thing for Carson, and then it ended up not being true at the end of the day, because Howie said they got an offer they couldn't refuse, especially for the polished turd that Carson left us in 2020. Seriously, especially for that. We got a first round pick out of that. Because he did what he needed to do to benefit us, and it was to the demise of his own team, because he couldn't get them to the playoffs after losing to Trevor Lawrence.
And no lie, bro, thank God Frank Wright was the head coach of that team, because if Frank wasn't, you're not getting a first for Carson Wentz. I promise you that. You know what I'm saying? The only reason you got a first is because Frank Wright believed, and now it looks like Frank Wright might have stuck his neck out a little too far. Like, Frank's now probably on the hot seat, because they're already talking about getting rid of Carson. They're already talking about it. And he didn't even last 1 year. He lasted 1 year. Sorry. Him and Frank. Yeah, that's bad, dude. That's really bad.
But
Howie won that shit, man. I'm telling you right now, Howie won that trade, whether you want to believe it or not. He gets a gold star for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely won that trade. All things considered, we can, we can be you know, I don't know. We can be all hell bent about what Hurts did and whatever, but you know, we're still better off. We're still better
Yes.
off. With Carson with Carson gone, we're better off right now. Especially the fact that wait a minute, doesn't Carson turn 28 soon, and Jalen Hurts is only 23 years old? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. It might I don't, my numbers might be wrong, but I could have swore that there was a 5-year age difference between these two quarterbacks, and we're just getting started to find out what type of quarterback Jalen Hurts is. So,
Not
but
just
that's
that, but he's also younger than half the quarterbacks coming out in this draft, dude.
yes,
He's
yeah,
also younger than half of them. Like, come
yeah.
on.
I don't know, man, but so um, I gotta bring up I gotta bring up some other transactions that I took notice to in the
Go for it.
week, and we're gonna go over it. We're gonna go over it a little bit. That'll transition into the press conference that happened today between Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. But I will lay out a quick reminder before we get into that for those that are still in viewership to watching the stream. Thank you for everybody that has stopped in so far. Whether it's Nightings, who him and I got a show tomorrow, will be episode 5 of Touchdown Talk. We're going to hear his viewpoints and everything, and a lot of it will still be centered around similar subjects to what we're discussing, AK. But the beauty of that is, as long as it's a different voice, you can still base your show around similar stuff, because everybody's unique in their own right to their opinions. So episode 5 is going to feature Nightings. Him and I are going to be talking it up tomorrow. That'll be at 8, followed by on Friday, Hunter Doyle will be paying a visit from Philly Insider Podcast. It's been a minute since I talked to him, and to have a stream with him as well. So you guys are going to be jam packed with content over here, and it feels good to get back at it. And unfortunately, and again, I'm not necessarily paying attention to this like I used to before, but my subscribers have been dropping like flies, and I have no idea why. I lost 3 in a matter of a week, and it just keeps going down instead of going up. But I don't know. I'm not worried.
Don't worry about it, man. You'll get it.
I'm not really worried about it anymore, because I'm just doing my thing over there, and I try to be as as real and 100 as I possibly can get, and that's where your respect comes from the people you work with versus somebody that I don't know. I'm not gonna go down that road because it'll be misinterpreted. But you get what I'm saying. I think
Yes.
the most important thing is that you're respected by your peers, the people that you work with, that you stay.
You got that, my guy.
Yeah, that you stay who you are throughout the time that you're on here, and I'm doing the best I can at it. But
You do great work. Don't worry about it, man.
appreciate that, and then I will finish that off. As we cut into the program here, I will finish that off by don't forget to give AK for the Eagles Uncensored podcast some of your attention as well. If you have no idea who the hell this guy is, continuing to grow with over 300 subscribers, that I did notice the big 300 was accomplished, and he's still growing in his own right, and helping this guy out, Philly Foothills, for that fundraiser. And those kind of people like that are hard to come by when they try to when they give you the entertainment, and they're just being a human being at the end of the day. So make sure to give this guy a look, even 10 seconds of your time to click view channel or that link, anything.
Appreciate it, man.
That subscription button is free to click, and you get entertainment when you get bored of Netflix or anything else on TV. When you get bored and you need some perspective from somebody else outside of ESPN or NFL Network, the fans perspective, which is a lot of what AK and I do, and a bunch of other Eagles content creators, Bird brothers and sisters alike. That's
Yeah.
what we're here for, because we love to do it. So don't be
Well
afraid.
said.
Don't be afraid to give AK some of your time as well. So with that said, 45 minutes going by, but we got to keep this going. And, the Eagles have made some transactions throughout the week, and that goes along the lines of reserve futures contracts for those that had for those players that had an expiring contract that were not on. The active roster at the end of the year. And there was a couple of notables to me, that I pointed out myself. I think it was what's his name, Dion Kane or something along those
Yeah.
lines. It was a receiver from the Colts that they claimed off of waivers, I believe, who had a ACL injury recently that he is rehabbing from and coming back from. Nick Sirianni knows him well. Excuse me. So he was a notable one because, not only of that, but Sirianni did mention him in the press conference. So he's excited to hopefully see him return and make some noise, through training camp to try and fight for a roster spot. So him. I know that LSU Tiger favorite, Jacoby Stevens, he earned himself, a futures contract. So I know that's going to make a lot of people happy, including Philly Foothills.
Yes.
So, our guy, that number 7 from the Tigers, Jacoby Stevens, is still on the roster as of right now with getting that contract. And that intriguing tight end, Noah Togiai, is also still here. So,
Yep.
the potential for trying to improve the depth is available. Now, we still have to find out where Tyree Jackson is, and it's such a damn shame because he just got back to playing. He was looking good with Minshew in that last Cowboy game, and, he tears the ACL. I mean, there's untapped potential and there's untapped talent there. And I did have to bring Tyree Jackson up because it's such a damn shame, and he has awesome size for the tight end position. And we look at him as that Logan Thomas type of mold that, the Washington football team, they ended up losing Logan Thomas. And that's how we looked at Tyree Jackson a little bit, because it's that same kind of project, quarterback turned tight end. And, he can't catch a break in the way that Jack Driscoll can't catch a break. And with these futures deals, and one thing I did have to point out is the fact that John Hightower did not get one yet. That's
He ain't going.
that's sad.
He's
That's
not
sad.
going.
I mean, this guy was supposed to be one of the biggest competitors to Quez Watkins, and Quez Watkins ends up beating him out. And we've already heard the story of that, and Jason Avant has talked about it because he was on that coaching staff, helping out Aaron Moorhead. And, he has felt at some points that John Hightower just does not have enough love for the game of football. And, and I guess it's showing right now, especially that if Hightower can't take snaps away from Ortega-Whiteside, or how bad Jalen Reagor was, he couldn't even have gotten elevated a single time this year, especially getting protected as often as he did. So, out of the notables that I mentioned for the futures contract, and anybody else that you can think of who you feel deserves one, what did you point out out of that, and where would you personally take it?
A lot of depth. A lot of the people that you named are depth. I believe Josiah Scott got one as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll have to look back at that.
I think he might have.
I don't think I've seen his name.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look as you're I'll
I
look as you.
thought that came out Monday or something like that, but I'm not sure. If not, my bad. But I thought he did get one. I thought the corner did get one, but maybe not. Um, but yeah, no, a lot of that is depth, and I don't mind that because that is our talent we are trying to develop. I mean, you look at you know, those guys you were talking about, like that's pretty much like some rookies that we drafted this year and last year, and then that Kane guy, that's an Indianapolis Colt. I'm sure Nick brought him over here as a developmental piece because he saw talent there in New England the year before, and when he became available, he jumped on it. Plus, I believe Kane's also 6'3", right? He's actually a pretty tall wide receiver, so
Yeah,
yeah,
Deion Kane, I think, I think Deion Kane, I think he's like a 50-50 type of guy.
yeah.
But no, Josiah Scott did not get a reserve futures
Okay.
deal yet.
Thought I saw that, but
So that
he
would
should
be,
get one. He
so
should get one.
I can just name them off quick. So the majority of them were defensive players. So starting at the top, guard tackle Coyote Owosika, Deion Kane, linebacker Christian Elise, Craig James. That was another notable one that I forgot about.
That's who I was thinking of.
Point,
Sorry, that's who I was.
yeah, at one point he was one of the special teams aces, one of those leaders,
Yeah.
and then it ended up turning into Sean Bradley, and then Sean Bradley got hurt, and then T.J. Edwards ended up getting hurt in the playoff game. So Matt Leo, another one that intriguing Australian defensive end, I think.
Yeah.
The other defensive end that actually played in the Tampa Bay game, Cameron Malvo, Jared Maiden, safety, Mac McCain, a corner, Jacoby Stevens, Noah Togiai, and defensive tackle Marvin Wilson. So those 11 got their futures deals first, and and then it gets even worse for John Hightower because a guy coming back from an ACL injury and Deion Kane, he got one before John did. We had and we had we did have some decently high expectations for this kid who ended up being a 5th round pick out of Boise State, and he had some pretty good potential, and he did have some benefits over Quez Watkins in terms of being a better route runner, because Jason Avant flat out said it. He felt at that point that he was the best route runner on the football team in terms of receivers, and when you lose the love for the game, all that talent goes to waste. It's a shame.
Yep. You can only be as good as you want to be.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but talent's only going to take you so far. That's why Devontae Adams stands out from the crowd. That's why D-Hop stands out from the crowd, because mentally they want to be that person. So they're going to be that person, and they have the talent to go with it.
Cooper Kupp having the year he did as a 3rd round pick, unbelievable.
It's a desire to be that guy, and they have that desire. You can kind of see that desire in Smith. You damn sure know the desire to be elite is there with Hurts. I mean, he said it. Yeah. I've heard the elite word come out of his mouth so many times. He wants to be elite in this league. Well, if his desire is to be elite and all he can do is work his ass off to get there, he will get there because that's what he wants. It's a matter of want in the NFL, and if he wants it, he'll get there. Might take a little time, but they'll get there. So
yeah, I mean, we even heard Donovan McNabb, put his own opinion out there about it, and he feels the Eagles have their quarterback, and and he says that some people just need to learn to stay patient, and I think it's fair to say that we were patient with Carson, even though he was the 2nd pick in the 2016 draft, and patient with him under first-year head coach Doug Peterson, and not first-year offensive coordinator Frank Reich, but it was the first year in the Eagles coaching staff, and it was almost a similar story, minus the fact that Jalen Hurts was a 2nd round pick instead of top 10.
And Jalen had better stats than Carson Wentz his first year. He had better stats. Carson was 16 touchdowns, 16 interceptions his very first year. Jalen Hurts was 26-9.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was 26-9. He had better stats, and his
Total
rushing
touchdown, yeah.
alone is just ridiculous. He could almost break 1,000 yards if he would have ran a little bit more. You
Yeah,
know,
he
like
had 800, 784.
yeah,
And it's funny how close my predictions were for Hertz's performance. And again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it was pretty damn close to where I thought he was going to have 3,500 passing to 600 rushing to end up at 4,100 total yards. He had a little over 3,900. Whether it was, I think it was 3,144 passing to 784 rushing. That was pretty damn close.
I was a little high as well, bro. I went
Yeah,
with Joe has mine actually clipped. He clipped my stats because I did it well before the season even started. I think I had him at 3,500 yards passing. I overachieved here a little bit, but I had 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So I was actually really close on the interceptions.
yeah, So
And then I had him at 1,012 yards rushing with 8 rushing touchdowns. So I actually was pretty close at the rushing touchdowns too.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we both picked the same amount of passing yards. So I mean, that was close in itself. I just didn't think he was going to rush as much as he did, because I just thought in the back of my mind that we're probably going to need to rely on our running backs more, to carry that mold than Jalen himself. And well, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't, and it is what it is. I also do remember saying that I thought he was going to have anywhere from 29 to 33 total touchdowns. He finished with 26, and I thought he would have anywhere from 9 to 11 interceptions, and he ended with 9. And this is to compile with me feeling that the Eagles were going to have an over/under win total of 8 games, and they overachieved to my expectations. But still, what does all that point to? Just being average. And average at this point in time is not necessarily a bad thing. And right now it's getting blown out of proportion because we want stuff at the snap of a finger. We want it right now because we're used to winning. And, we've had that Lombardi mentality in the back of my mind, in the back of our mind. We've had that hunger ever since, and just going through the years of that negativity with Parson and Doug Peterson, and the hunger grew and grew and grew to the point where we're just not patient anymore. But again, we still understand the weaknesses that Hurts has playing the quarterback position, because you have to be able to throw the football. You're not going to last long in this league. And where do the majority of his issues come from? It's from throwing the football. It's pocket awareness. It's anticipation. It's timing. It's trusting your offensive line. Whose responsibility is that? It's not just Jalen Hurts in preventing himself in creating bad habits, but it's also on Brian Johnson. That's why he was brought here, because of the relationship that the two of them had prior to even meeting somewhere at some point in the game of football. So we have to build a level of patience.
Listen, man, I said it yesterday. I said it 3 months ago, and I'll say it again. I am so tired of people thinking that you can just microwave a QB for 3 minutes and they pop out elite. It does not work that way. You need to be patient. I've been preaching patience all year long. And you know what? You heard it here first. I'm going out and saying it. Next year, Jalen Hurts will make a Carson Wentz leap from year 1 to 2 and his year of 2 to 3. Because listen, this kid, he had to go in and learn a whole new playbook this year. He again for like the 5th year in a row. And what happens to that? That's less time you get to work on your mechanics, on yourself. You only get so many hours in a day. Okay, so he had to go in and learn that. Then he has to get comfortable with everything and all the play calling and all the audibles. There's about 250 defensive plays, and in each play, you can disguise it many, many different ways. So just imagine times that by how many different times you can scheme a defensive look. Well, you got to remember all that. That takes time. I'm not giving excuses. I'm just giving reality. Everything this kid had to learn this year, for how much he has learned and the progress he's made, he did a pretty damn good job. Because it's hard to be a quarterback in the NFL. I've never been a quarterback. I always was a wide receiver and a strong safety, and for my own good reason. Okay? Now, he had to learn so much more. This offseason, he gets to go in knowing still, again, he's QB1. He knows the playbook already. If they make a little bit of adjustments, hey, it's a little bit he has to learn, but it's nothing like this past offseason. But he can focus on himself. He can focus on his rehab, get stronger, get mentally there. We already know he's mentally there. We already know he's a great leader, and these guys respect him. The leap he's going to make next year is going to be really ridiculous. And when it's all said and done, I believe everyone's going to be laughing like, why did I ever doubt this kid? So,
I mean, how many different head coaches / play callers has he had since the collegiate level? At least, what, 5, 6?
5 or 6, yeah. That's ridiculous.
How do you build any kind of consistency that way?
Yeah.
When the system changes as often as it does.
Yep.
Whether it's the system, whether it's the coaching staff, the personnel around you, how do you build upon that when there's no consistency there? It's hard. I mean, we complained about the same things for Carson when when the offensive line was dropping like flies left or right, or he was losing receivers, or said tight end was in and out of the lineup. At one point when Carson was still favored by a lot of us, we were making these same excuses for him, and it makes it even more contradicting to the fact that he was the second pick in his draft class. Yep. Hurts was only projected to be a third or a fourth rounder. Who else? Wait a minute. Who else was a fourth round pick that is the franchise quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys? Dak Prescott. Yeah. So what's the problem here? Seriously, what's the problem here? And Dak is how much older than Jalen Hurts right now? 3-4 years?
Kirk Cousins was a 6th round pick.
Stop.
Kirk Cousins was 6th.
And listen, I don't want to hear the fact that Dak is a better passer. You're missing me with that, because how many times is he either ahead or behind schedule when it comes to the timing of hitting his receivers on slant routes or whatever it may be? He's still dealing with those kind of issues 6 years into the league, and we're blowing it right now out of proportion when Jalen Hurts has only finished his 2nd year. You're missing me with that. Stop. These kind of things take time, but it's not only up to the player to want to be better, but it's up to the organization to handle that responsibility and put the right pieces around him in order for him to succeed. Hurts has not had that yet, but it is a work in progress. So people have to calm the hell down and let the flower bloom, like Sirianni said, and all of y'all gave him flack for it, and I was like, well, what the F is he talking about? I was part of that. But guess what? It worked because we were a playoff team. And I don't want to hear the strength of schedule stuff either.
We don't make the schedule.
Miss me with the strength of schedule. And see, I'm blowing up. You wanted to see it. Because this really happens to me. You wanted to see it. But I'm tired of it. Of it. Because it's just excuse after another. It's moving the goalpost. It's everything. It's not. We don't make our own schedule. Bad football teams do not beat bad football teams. That is, you still have to beat the opponent that's in front of you. It doesn't matter what their record was last year. It doesn't matter how that team is, how good they are at that point in time. You still have to beat them. So it doesn't matter what our strength of schedule was at the end of the year. But yes, there's still a context behind it that this team wasn't able to beat good teams, and there's reasons outside of the fact that we were only able to beat bad teams. That's how you figure out the overall construction of the players that you have, the kind of talent that you have. That and in the off seasons, that's where you figure it out. So we have to pump the brakes about the fact that, oh, Hurts is not that guy. We didn't give him the time to develop. It's a win now league.
You're the weapons.
But there's still time behind it. 2 years, people. 2 years is all he's gotten yet. You can still develop as a passer. It's not like it's not like he's reached his ceiling and that's it. Okay.
No, Lindy, no lie. Listen, this is the way I'm going to put it, and I'm going to put it short and sweet. You go out and you get me Mike Williams or Allen Robinson or one of these 50-50 guys, and you go out and you get me Godwin or Calvin Ridley, and you put them guys in there this year, and if he comes out with the same stats this year, next year, as this year, sorry, that was confusing. If he comes out with the same stats next year as this year, then you might have a debate. Because at that point, I've given you Godwin, I've given you Mike Williams, I got you Devontae Smith, you have Miles Sanders or whoever the hell is going to be back there at that point. You know, you have this and that, you have a defense because we went out and we got a defense, and you're not getting the job done, then you have an argument. That argument I will entertain. But right now, when this guy only has Quez Watkins and Rager as 2 and 3 to throw to, and we all know what Smith is, and Dallas Goedert, when he drops the easy passes but catches the hard ones, that's still blowing my mind. You know, Miles Sanders, hard to stay healthy. Jordan Howard, hard to stay healthy. You know, you lose Brandon Brooks, and yet you still are the number one rushing offense in the NFL. You know, dude, I just listen until you get me wide receivers that I know can separate from corners and actually be there when they're supposed to be there. And this kid is still having issues. I'll entertain it. But until then, no, I won't.
Well, it would just it would make it easier to evaluate him, and
right?
You can be like, look, I gave you the personnel that I thought that you needed. This like. You know, it's in front of you to take the bull, by the horn, so to speak, like Howie Roseman said in the beginning of the year, that's what he wanted Jalen Hurts to do despite the circumstances. And I think it's fair to say that he did it. Hurts did it despite the circumstances. So what are we complaining about? Now it's up to the organization to do a better job of building around Hurts, knowing what they have to work with now, because a 4.5 game sample size is certainly not enough, especially the fact that that's all he had in terms of experience. You threw him under the fire. You threw him under the fire in such terrible circumstances because of the implosion that was out of his control. And now that you found out who Hurts is so far and and it's like, picking up the pieces and picking up where you leave off. Now you can start to put the pieces together and understand what Hurts needs to blanket his weaknesses for now until he gets better in those aspects. But to go on what you were saying with the free agent receivers, the only one that I hold back on a little bit is Calvin Ridley. Number one, he took time away from the game of football, so I don't know where that is going to lead in terms of him finding another team. That's one. Number two with Calvin Ridley is the fact that he's only a better established Devontae Smith. So having two of the same receiver on one team, I don't know if I would think I would want a better dynamic than that. Mike Williams, just to have somebody as a 50-50 type of receiver, because we don't have that right now. Yeah, Quez is able to do it because he has the athleticism, but he's not. His frame doesn't suit that kind of play. And Lord knows we're not going to see. Lord knows we're not going to see Ortega-Whiteside doing that, because all he was limited to was blocking. Like a second-round pick as a blocking receiver. That's ridiculous. So, I mean...
Oh, JJ, I could write songs about these wide receivers. They'd be top hits on the Eagle category. I promise you that, man.
All right, so
Listen, dude, I'm telling you, I'm with you, dude. All right, first off, Jalen Rager, bro, you've let how many punts go this year that have went into the 5-yard line, you know, and you let them go and they get down back there, and you don't bring. But that's the punt you decided to go for in that playoff game. That's the one you decided to go for with that defender breathing down your neck right there. That one pissed me off. Like when he had, I think Joey said it best last night on my show. When he has time to think, he's fucking terrible. Like it's a mental thing with Rager. And I'm so tired of mental people on this team. I don't want to fix somebody anymore. I don't want to have to sit here and spend time trying to fix people. I want to bring people in who are already mentally tough enough to handle this business and to do what the hell we pay them to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this shit anymore. J-Jaw, Rager, Barnett, all three fucking gone. I want to take the $5 million cap hit on Rager. I don't care. Get him off. He's not going to get better. He will not. We all see it. It's not going to happen. There's people out there that still say, oh, give him another year. Fuck no. He's just another Nelson Aguilar, and we see how far he's gotten. No, I'm done with hopes. I want shit now. And if that means we got to go out and get a couple of vets to establish it, and then later on, a couple of years down the road, draft some rookie wide receivers to develop, so be it, whatever. But I want answers now. And I'm tired of trying to fix people. We need to revamp this wide receiver core, and we need to do it now. You have some really good veteran players in this wide receiver free agency. Godwin's only 26, and he's a veteran. I want to see that here, and he's fast. Yeah, he does have some problems with his hands, but you know what? He might drop 4 balls a game, but he still averages over 100 yards a game. You get what I'm saying? He might drop some passes, but he still makes an impact. I'm okay with that. All right. Yeah. A lot of people say Mike Williams, he's inconsistent at times and he's injury prone. Well, you know what? He pretty much damn near played all this year, so I'm not too worried about it. He's only 28. I get it. He's getting up there, but he's still effective. We seen him in the Raider game. He played his ass off. You know what I'm saying? They lost, but that's not all on him. He played his ass off. Yeah. He's been a very good wide receiver this year. So
if I remember correctly, how old was Torrey Smith when we signed him?
32.
So I mean, it's not a the comparison there it's more of a contrast than a comparison. But when you talk about free agency pickups, I mean, when we say like Alshon Jeffrey, he
was 30.
Or what was he 30? I thought he was. I thought he was
maybe he was 29.
I thought he was like 27 or something. He wasn't that old at that point.
Was he?
I thought he was on the cusp of hitting 30. Like I think maybe he was around the Mike Williams.
27, 28 probably. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Probably 27.
Yeah, that was my thought. Like Dallas Goedert right now is when we picked him up because the Bears gave up on him. But so. And big play Slay in the house. So you already know the kinds of conversations that we would have when he announces his presence in here. He goes, "What's up?" to myself and AK. All as always, that kind of recognition. Bird brothers and sisters to the content creator game. That's just how it works. That's how it works. What's going on, man? Nightings liking the content here, saying that we're putting it right on the money. Well.
Just being fair, man. Just being fair.
You have, and it's fair honesty. That's what it is. It's fair honesty, and it reminds me of the fact that sometimes you have to learn when and when not to look under the microscope, because the context of the situation, the context of that discussion changes. And it is what it is. So.
Can I point something out too, Lindy? And I want you can either disagree or agree with me on this one. I've noticed, like, there's people our age, like, and Joey Shakes is included on this, Philly 500, all of us in our 30s and up. We're all the patient. yeah, we're all the patient ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, give this kid another year, do this, do that. The ones that are kind of against him or they're walking the line, they're the ones that were born from like 2000 up. Okay. And what really frustrates me, and Slay knows where I'm going with this because I've said it before, the people from 2000 and up, they don't know what losing is. Because in 2000 and up, our franchise has been one of the top franchises in the NFL. But the ones who have lived through the 90s, that watched this team in 1990, 91, 92, 93, and have seen us in our shittiest times when we were just praying for a fucking win at that point, just something give, just something year after year, just something give. We're the ones that know patience because we've been there. We've seen this team at the lowest of the low that we've ever been. You know what I'm saying? So we're able to sit back and get out of our comfort zone a little bit and know what patience is because we've had to be patient before. To where the ones that aren't patient are the ones because they've only known us for winning and only winning. So they're impatient because they know how good we've been over the years. Would you and Testa agree with that? Because that's how I see it right now. We're split because of age. You really see it.
Well, it's not only that, but it's the fact that the definition of patience also applies to everyday life. And if you don't understand it from the get-go, then you're not going to have it in any kind of conversation that you're trying to have with somebody. Especially when it comes to a sport, and it only elevates your knowledge of patience when you have played a sport to begin with, because you start off in the beginning and you get irritated to the fact that this person does this aspect of the game better than I do, and why can't I be as good as them? And you get all irritated with yourself, and then there's a reminder from there's a reminder with yourself, or there's a reminder with the coach that you have to have patience, and take your time, and you have to continue to build upon this and then you'll maybe eventually reach the level of somebody else. And that's where the difference comes in, is understanding the situation that you're in and applying it to different aspects. And and I don't want to say and I can't say it's wisdom, because wisdom is it's a different definition in itself, because that comes from just a lifetime of different experiences that you have been a part of. So with that's why they say with age comes wisdom, and we're not there yet, but I think of it more of a means of being civilized. That's like civilized and civilized, level-headed, seeing both sides of the equation. Those kinds of meanings and adjectives to our discussion. And I think that's where the difficulty of being irrational comes in. And of course, it's like when and the patience also applies to saying that, oh, well, it's like, if I want something, I want it now. No, some things come in time, and that's just something that you have to get used to.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah, so we got some more fellas in here. We got some more fellas. Richie Mack.
What's up, Richie?
Anything goes here, right? What's up? Within limits? Yes, within limits. So he goes, thank you, Lindy Hoodie Howie. Unless Howie was making a statement, I found it unprofessional for a top Eagles exec to be wearing a black hoodie at a press conference. I ain't no Hoodie Howie, man. I'm just, I would have to say I'm far from it, because I'm not hated by the majority of my peers right now. I would hope I'm not. But I guess depending on how I take where you're going with that, but it's all in fun. It's all in fun, and well, we got to keep this going. And I'm going to bring up Big Play Slay's comment here in a second because it's going to tie into the next subject that we are going to cover in terms of the press conference that Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni had today as a duo with the Eagles beat writers. But again, we'll pause for a quick second again to just to acknowledge the fact that we're already closing in on an hour and a half. AK, and every time we've done a show like this, we already know the deal. But it's like I said, it's like we're reading the same book, and we're being on the same page, and that sort of thing, just to be able to keep these kinds of conversations going, and just to have a good engagement at this, a good engagement at the same time, where we're not being biased, we're not being hateful, and we're not being unrealistic. We're trying to hit every point we possibly can, and it still brings up legitimate questions. And up to this point, I think we've been doing a pretty good job. So again, another.
I love it, man. We got so much. We got so much to cover. It's been so long.
Yeah, yeah, most certainly. So yeah, and just thank you to those that are still popping in and out, or even still in attendance to an hour and 20 minutes worth of your time. I do appreciate it as much as AK does, as much as I would think the majority, if not all, of the Eagles content creators that take this seriously. So at the end of the day, this part of this wouldn't be possible without those that give us the support that they do, and we thank you for it. So with that said, we're going to keep this going for, I'm not sure how long we're going to keep this going for, because I think it's just going to be conversation based. But Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni had their duo press conference today, like I said, with the Eagles media. And, the questions, you knew the questions were coming. You knew the questions were coming, and it didn't even stem from just the playoff game alone, but it stemmed from the season in its entirety. And of course, we heard some of the very first questions regarding the future of the quarterback position. And so it seemed both the GM and now going into his second year as a head coach, Nick Sirianni, have quote unquote committed to Jalen Hurts as their quarterback going forward into 2022. And I thought at one point that I was going to make a video on this and troll the Hurts haters and troll the Hurts haters in the beginning before my intro, and be like, suck on that, Hurts haters, and yada yada. But no, of course it would have been in all fun and games, no doubt. But no, I
Man, you should have told me. I would have been there with you. Shit.
Yeah, no. I mean, I tend to feel that I'm better than that, and that's not that's not the kind of message I want to portray for myself.
I'm man enough to admit it. I'm not. I'd so fucking do it.
But but that's just part of the uniqueness of what we do. Our supporters, and us included, we have similar supporters, similar subscribers to our channels, and that's just how it works sometimes. But I'm
really not a bad guy. I just got to keep my persona up. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, I watch I watch other YouTubers aside from the subject of Eagles football and sports in general, and I've heard some of them say that they kind of take on a persona like they're a WWE wrestler, and they're not like this in real life, and it's part of the entertainment and that sort of thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't allow it to overlap your true colors in a sense. Like
Yeah.
you still have to kind of remind people or reassure people that this is just a gig, and I'm not being two-faced here. It's part of
Yeah.
the entertainment of what I like to do. So, but yeah,
Yep.
this presser. So with the GM and head coach have, with them blessing, so to speak, the quarterback that just completed his first full year starting, will be going into his third year in total and second year starting. That it's looking like Hurts is going to continue to be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, quote
Hmm.
unquote, for now. Like I said, take Howie's word. Take Howie's word however you want, with a grain of salt or the entire shaker. That's everybody's freedom. That's up to you. Take of it what you will. But I do respect Sirianni for taking the approach to say that, you know, it's it's part of his job to keep his players in the loop and to have those kinds of conversations. Because I know one of the questions that was asked was, have you guys discussed with Hurts that he's going to be the quarterback moving forward? And and Sirianni said something along the lines of, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't have those conversations, and I respect him for that. That's part of the responsibility, and that's part of the respect that you will want to give to a head coach, of your football team. So that was said very well. So I mean, considering that, where are you in terms of both of these gentlemen committing to Hertz, and how did you initially take it?
I love it because, like I said, there was no hesitation in their voice when they said it. It wasn't like yeah, that like they were instant. My only fear is Lori. Does Howie Roseman and does Nick Sirianni, they seem to be on the same page. Somehow, some way, I feel Nick got to Howie a little bit, and I feel Howie will actually listen to Nick in this draft coming up. He seems to be mentally at a really good state right now, and I don't really like saying that about Howie, but it is true. I feel Nick's somehow influenced him a little bit, which could be a really good thing. But my concern is Lori. Like, what if Lori gets it up his butt to go out and get like a Russell Wilson or a Deshaun Watson? Will Howie and Nick both have the balls to stand up and say, no, stop? We cannot do that. You got to go with this kid one more year, give him the option, see what he's got, and we'll see if we can roll with him. Like, that's my concern. Do these guys have it in them to tell this man, calm down? That's what I want to see. Because ultimately Nick and Howie both can give me their word, but Jeffrey's going to get what he wants. But it's up to them to put a stop to it. So that's what I need to see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what the hell do we have? The hell do we have going on here? Just had a just had a random pop up on my
Gotta love that shit.
laptop that completely freaking let my window disappear. But no, and I almost lost my train of thought for a second. But I just reminded myself again, and you bring up Jeffrey Lurie. What is he thinking all this? And he still has yet to have his presser. And
Yeah.
as we know, the type of team, the type of offense that Jeffrey Lurie wants to advertise for his football team is a high-powered offense that pushes the ball down the field with his quarterback throwing it, and those eye-popping, flashing plays like those
Mhm.
Mahomes-esque type of throws, and how Justin Herbert looks, and those kind of gunslinger quarterbacks. And and as we know, Jalen Hurts doesn't necessarily fit that mold. So
Yeah.
we have to we have to try and figure out now, what is Lurie's mindset in all this. I mean, at some point, you got to turn over a new leaf, and think a little bit outside the box here. And and this even stems from the beginning of the year. And I think it was us making jokes around week 1 when we dismantled the Atlanta Falcons, and how balanced and how well operative the team looked. And it wasn't flashy, but it was very productive. We looked like we knew what we were doing, and we were afraid, jokingly, that Lurie would not have liked this style of football going forward, because he wants to
Right.
push it down the field with the throw. So, and this also goes into the fact that it has been said before that Jeffrey Lurie has had a heavy hand in the pot, especially with the selections of
Mhm.
Whiteside and Jalen Rager. So, I mean, and it's almost like a Jerry Jones-esque type of situation, where we have to figure out here, like, how much influence is too much influence in
Yeah.
areas of this football team that the owner does not need to be a part of. And that's another scary part we have to think about.
Because I mean, you got to look at it this way, bro. No lie, they're going to look at it, and if they go up, say Howie wants to do the Russell Wilson thing. We'll just hypothetically throw this in there, and these
Yeah.
both go up to him. And they're like, "There's no way in hell." Look, what if Howie goes, "There's no way in hell I'm doing that. Like, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to salvage everything we have for a quarterback and not have nothing left to build this team." Say
Yep.
he's on Nick's side. What does that ultimately do? That puts his ass on the hot seat, because Jeffrey does not like to be told no.
Yep.
You know, and that also puts Nick on the hot seat, because Nick does not like to be told no. So you're going to have that pressure where their jobs are on the line. Like, if you don't do it, then I'm firing you type scenario. Now, are they going to be ballsy enough to stand there and take that heat, or are they going to cower to him and just do what he wants? I would rather see them stand up to this man, take the heat, and get fired. I will have respect for you on that. To stand up and say, "No, man, I'm not going to do that." Like, that's the dumbest shit we could do as a franchise. I'm looking out for the name on the front, not the name on the back type scenario, and if they would stand up and do that, and he fires them for that, dude, shout out to y'all. Like, props. I respect you both for doing that shit. But if they cower to this man and give him what he wants just because he's the owner, then I have no respect for you. You have to have a spine. You know what I mean?
And it seemed that we already had a hard time at one point getting rid of said veterans because of the name on the back. And,
Yeah.
and it was more of the sentimental value instead of the talent value. And look at the kind of detriment that it made to our football team. It made us worse keeping aging veterans, especially when we didn't have the proper depth or the proper development of depth backing them up, and it costed us some games. So I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. And oh yeah, weren't we joking? Weren't we joking at one point of the fact about we thought that Doug Peterson was going to be a yes man, and we thought at one point that in the initial hire of Nick Sirianni that he was going to be a yes man and all that. And it seems to this point that Sirianni is the type of coach that that he has a system that he wants to carry out, and he's going to do it no matter what. And that's the part that I like about this guy, is that there's times where he's not afraid to call it like it is. And he speaks in a way that he's that he's like not walking on eggshells with the way of how generic Doug Peterson did some of his press conferences. And that's one thing that I'm liking about Siri. He's not afraid to carve his own path right now, and he's doing everything in his power to want to make this football team better. But of course, the question is, who, if any, is going to get in the way? And that's what we still have yet to answer.
Well, and that's the one thing. Like I can sit here honestly and tell you, I have never once made fun of Nick Sirianni, never once. Okay, he caught a lot of shit at the beginning of the year, because he stuttered, because all his weirdness, his highlighters on his fucking hat, for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me? Like all this shit. And I sat here and I was thinking, I was like, are we just mean to this guy because he's fucking that unique? Because he actually cares? Like he comes off a little different, he does come off different, but he's fucking unique.
He was even getting his balls busted for putting number stickers
on his hat
for his players.
Yeah. Okay, so when you sit here and you do all this shit, like it didn't make sense to me, and it was like, why? Because we have a coach that genuinely cares. Like it was really weird, right? And I'm sitting there and
in a more revealing sense instead of being closed about it.
So when I looked at it and everything, and now that everyone loves him, it's like, dude, he's one of those guys, and this definitely states him. Don't take my kindness for weakness. He's not fucking weak by any means at all. He's just that fucking kind. Like, how many coaches do you see? You saw during training camp before the season even started, he was out throwing that football with those kids that were outside the link. No fucking NFL coach is going to go do that shit.
Meanwhile, over in the Meadowlands, Joe Judge was having his players and guys on the coaching staff do laps around the effing field. Like, come on.
Like he sits here and he gets sweatshirts and shirts in the mail from people he don't even fucking know, and he wears them to his pressers to just promote them. Like, that's fucking cool, man. Where's his recognition for that? Yeah, where's his recognition for that? Everybody wants to let that down. I'm like, you guys see the small shit and you don't give a fuck about the big stuff. It's dumb. It really is truly dumb, man. I never got why he got, because he's different. You guys wanted to shun him out, and that's dumb.
Oh it's talked down. It's talked down upon because it doesn't win football games. It doesn't translate to winning football games. Whatever. You just have to say whatever at that point, But we're gonna get on a tangent that would go for the next. If we don't get into other areas of this presser, but the other areas of this presser could very well give us 30-minute tangents, but we got to talk about them. So, for sure. Richie Mack, if you're still in here, I did not forget about your comment that you threw up here, and him talking about back to the presser. So, to Richie, he says, Siri should not have given Quez too much of the vote of confidence to be the number 2 receiver. They should have said we will explore all options at upgrading all positions. And I absolutely agree with Richie here. I understand like giving that kind of blessing and giving that kind of vote of confidence. I am okay with it, but I'm not okay with it because it depends on the body of work that you have given to said coach. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Quez is there yet. I understand where Sirianni's coming from in terms of his skill set to where he feels that he can be a comparable number 2 to a Devontae Smith, that, their skill sets mesh in the right way, but with everything going on around him, there's no real equation yet to say that and it doesn't even boil down to just Quez. It boils down to the roster of wide receivers as a whole. At one point, Siri said he likes where he's at in terms of wide receiver. And I just thought that's flat out wrong. You got to do something to upgrade the position.
Yeah.
And like between the fact that Arcega-Whiteside, and we talked about this already, Arcega-Whiteside, it was, they boiled him down to just doing blocking assignments, and everyone lost their mind and started crapping their pants when he caught a 14-yard pass for a first down out of nowhere. And Jalen Reagor struggling the way that he did, and the biggest, and one of the biggest spots that got pointed out in that fact is when Siri named off his receivers, Reagor was number 3 behind Quez Watkins. That tells you how they feel about Reagor right now, and it's completely justified. It's completely justified. That's the worst part. A 6th round pick showed you more in terms of capability and potential than a 1st round pick did. Where does that happen? Where does that happen?
Yeah,
outside of the, well, wait a minute. What pick and of course this is an anomaly by every stretch of the imagination. I don't exactly remember what pick Drew Bledsoe was, but the Drew Bledsoe to Tom Brady scenario, Tom Brady was a 7th round pick. But and of course, like I said, that is the most extreme anomaly. Yeah. But that is the depressing situation that we got right now, that we're more excited about the potential of Quez Watkins when we were supposed to have that in Jalen Reagor, and it didn't happen whatsoever. And Sirianni is still comfortable with Reagor on the roster and thinking that a position change on the field is going to help something.
I think, listen, man, I think he's saying that just so he doesn't hurt his feelings, to be honest. I do. Because, listen, if you have the capability tomorrow to go out and get Mike Williams and Godwin, I promise you, Quez and Reagor are bye-bye. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Yo, what's good, Birdman? You got the sticker?
Right there on the table.
But that's what I'm saying. If you have Mike Williams and Godwin in line to come on this team, Watkins and Reagor are both bye-bye. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. They're fucking gone. Like, you're not, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know if Watkins would be gone. You would at least drop him to 3.
Yeah, but, well, no, he'd be 4 because you're putting Godwin in the slot at that point. Because that's where he thrives the most.
Well, how many free agent receivers are you talking about here, though?
Only 2. I'm revamping this whole fucking thing. I told you.
Williams and Godwin?
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell that would happen, but
dude, you have $75 million in cap. You can make it happen.
Yeah, I just don't see you. I just don't see.
I'm using free agency for offense and defense strictly in draft. That's the way I'm going.
Well, in terms of 2 free agency pickups at receiver, there's no way that both Mike Williams and Godwin are going to take prove-it deals. They're going to look for extensions, and I don't think that Howie is going to be the guy to give an extension to 2 receivers like that. It's going to end up being 1 instead of 2.
Well, I don't think that's going to be an issue with Godwin because he's coming off of an ACL tear. He's going to have a prove-it deal anyway. To a point, but you can get Godwin for 3 years. That way, if he doesn't work out, you can get rid of him fast. You can do a 3-year deal with Godwin and be pretty successful. I think you could pay him like 12 to 14 a year and be okay with that. And the same with Mike Williams, you could probably get 12 to 14. And that's what I'm saying. You have plenty of room left over to hit other positions. You really do.
Yeah, it's just it's going to depend on the market for 1, and 2. Yeah. I mean, didn't we give Alshon Jeffrey in excess of or close to like $20 million a year, and it completely blew up in our face? Wasn't he on average at $20 million, and we're talking 13 to 14 for Godwin and Mike Williams?
Yeah, but I think Howie learned from that mistake, though, man.
Yeah,
like you can't make that mistake twice.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I think you can do it. And I think they might even try. If not 2, they're getting 1. You know, if not two, they're at least getting one, which would
Yeah,
slide Quez
yeah.
into the slot then. But no matter what, you're getting a vet out of this free agency. Now, where else you go, maybe you address the offensive line. I don't know what centers are free agents. Maybe you do that because, Kels was the last guy off the field at Tampa. So pretty
I
much
really
that
hope
tells me he's going to be gone. I do
I
not.
really don't want Kelsey to retire yet. I don't.
I know I don't either, but I feel he will. So
I would rather see him go out in a more. I would rather see Kelsey go out in more of a fairy tale kind of fashion where the team had a lot more like the team ended up getting more of a successful season under their belt than the way that they went out. And I think that kind of itches in the back of Kelsey's mind too. I don't think the way that this season ended is the way that he wanted to finish his career. And you can even also tie that to Zach Ertz and him talking about that he wants to be an Eagle for life. And just because he got traded to Arizona and how they blundered their game, he's gonna want to retire the same way on a positive note. And I don't know how much of a positive note you can take from the end of this year for the Birds, and in respect to how Jason Kelsey feels. So in a sense, I think it's going to be a harder contemplation for Kelsey to come back than to as opposed to retire. But sure, we still have to keep that in the back of our mind.
yeah, and I mean, like I said, if Brooks retires, that's 15 million you save. So that's why I said the cap jumps to 75. And then if Kels retires, I believe that's another 10 or 15. So you add that on. So you're looking at like 85 to 90 mil in cap, dude. You can do a lot in free agency with that. We're talking big hitters here. That's what I'm saying. I'm not opposed to bringing in two wide receivers. You have the money. Money is not an option in this free agency. This is the most money we've had in a long time. A long time.
Yeah.
You can address offense and even some defense at this point and still be okay. So yeah, you can bring in, even if it's not Godwin, like say it's a like a DD Westbrook, or somebody at the lower level, to compete with Watkins and Rager. You know what I'm saying?
If you want to gamble on another Cowboy.
Who?
Michael
Gallup? Yeah, you could even do
another Cowboy. I know that left a lot of sour tastes in our mouths because of Orlando standard, but at that point, Orlando was not the player that Gallup was. So
yeah, so I mean, you can bring in a lower range, mid range wide receiver to compete with Quez and Rager at that point, But go out and definitely get like an Allen Robinson, a Mike Williams, or a Godwin. I mean, no lie, any of those three right there, if you grab one of those, that's a success. And then you grab like a Day or Gallup, or I even think Laviska Shenault is even available this year. Like there's guys that are in the mid range that still could be proven talent that had shitty teams that you could actually go out and get and maybe get something out of them.
Yeah, it depends. I think for Laviska, it would depend on how like the kind of preference he has to Trevor Lawrence. If that was one of Trevor's favorite targets, I don't know if Jacksonville would do that for a first-year quarterback, but it still makes sense. And it still itches to me in the back of my mind to think that, and I don't know. Damn, sorry. Yeah, it's using my voice a little too much without a beverage. That's what that is. But I don't know why I still have this fascination to the fact that, and I wish he wasn't old, but I still wonder, like, what if we picked up Philip Dorsett? I thought he would have been a great pickup for this team, and it just didn't happen. So, like, that kind of that kind of acquisition at the receiver spot. You know, like how we tried to do with the Mike Wallace experiment, and he just
Yeah.
wasn't healthy enough, and that blew up in our face real quickly. And whether it's whether it would have been Dorsett or Mike Wallace, Torrey Smith, those kinds of veteran aid type of moves. Because I mean, if you think about it, this receiver room does not have a really good grasp on a veteran leadership. The
Yeah.
only real one that they look to is Greg Ward, and that's really not saying all that much. So that's why sometimes free agency is pretty important
Yeah.
to
Now,
grab
another
some.
name I want to throw at you too, man, and I believe he's a free agent. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I would not mind going after Hassan Riddick either. I'm
Oh, for
pretty
the
sure
for the
Riddick's out.
defensive side of the ball, yeah.
Yeah, I think Riddick's only had a 1 year contract with Carolina. If they don't tag him or keep him, Riddick is definitely somebody I'm going after in this free agency as well.
Okay, so just because we're on this subject, I have to bring up the list on Sport Track for
Okay.
the NFL free agency for wide receivers. If it'll actually load, and I don't know why it's not load. Okay, there we go. So um,
Devontae Smith is franchised or Devontae Adams is franchised, by the way, so he's off the list.
Yeah, so he's got a franchise tag, so yeah,
Yeah.
that makes it a little more difficult. So I mean, here we go. We got in terms of unrestricted uh, in terms of unrestricted free agents, we got quite a bit of you know, we got quite a bit of talent to pick from, and of
Mhm.
course, it depends if these teams re-sign them or not. But from the top of the list, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, we already talked about. He's gone. Will Fuller, he's injury prone. Injury prone. Jamison Crowder would not be bad. You can get him off that sorry ass Jets team.
Mhm.
T.Y. Hilton, he's a little old. Juju Smith-Schuster, don't know if we want that kind of drama. Emmanuel Sanders, he's a little bit older. AJ Green, not exactly all that healthy. He can be injury prone. Keelan Cole is not that bad. Sammy Watkins, eh.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, as we said. Zach Pascal ended up being pretty decent for Carson when he got the ball. Albert Wilson, Matthew Slater, Zay Jones, Rashard Higgins, Jakeem Grant, Cedric Wilson, Byron Pringle, Deshaun Jackson, and Danny Amendola. No way. We already
Is
know that.
Cedric Wilson, is that the Dallas Cowboy one? The fourth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cedric
He
Wilson.
wasn't too bad, was he, this year?
No, he
That team?
wasn't. He came on. He came on when Michael Gallup was completely gone.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see here. Josh Reynolds, Chris Conley, Christian Kirk, Odell. Yeah, right. That's not happening. Marquise Goodwin already tried it. Didn't work because he just didn't want to play through COVID. Adam Humphries, Mohamed Sanu, Demarcus Robinson, who used to be a free agent target for the Eagles back in 2020. Demarcus Robinson. Um, Demir Bird, D.D. Westbrook, who you mentioned, and he used to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. He was actually on the Vikings. Um, Noah Brown, Mac Hollins, DJ Chark would not be a
Yeah,
bad
that's
pick.
not a bad one either.
Um, and yeah, you guys get the picture. The list goes on, and quite a that's that's a pretty damn good. Listen to me speaking right now. That's a pretty damn good pool of free agent receivers to pick from, and of course, who is it up to at the end of the day to make these kinds of decisions? And like we just talked about, how strong of a voice does Sirianni have in
Yeah.
terms of what he wants for this football team, and if the front office is going to listen to him 100%, or take it out of a smaller percentage. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, that is the question. Like I said, it's how much can they influence Jeffrey Lurie at this point? I believe Nick's won over Howie from the way they talk, from the way that they sit next to each other. They seem to get along. They seem to have the same thought process right now, is to build this team, not worry about the QB position. They want to build around Jalen. So they all both seem to be on the same thought process. It's just, we need to know, is Jeffrey on that process as well? Because if he is, then I am 100% like clean, free and clear. Like, dude, my heart is in the right place at this point. I'd have no stress going into the off season. If they all three agree, man, that's the best thing that could ever happen for us. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we need to ask, is where is Jeffrey at? Because we know where Nick is. We know where Howie is. Awesome. They're on the same page. But where's that guy at? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Appreciate you, BPS. Yes, we're still alive. We're keeping this conversation going. If we started to flame out, then there'd be no point in keeping this going, because we just be repeating ourselves. But that's the amount of content that's the amount of context that AK and I haven't gotten out of each other, because it's been a while since we've interacted on this kind of platform, instead of just call-ins where there's multiple voices, and we're we're just a we're
much easier to think in this environment. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That too. But we're keeping the entertainment alive for the time being, because we're already closing on 2 hours, and
That's awesome.
I think the time is drawing near to close things out, as is in terms of the subjects, and we got two left. We got two subjects left that I don't think is going to render much coverage, because these answers are going to be pretty easy between the two of us. Still sticking to the subject of this press conference that just happened, as Joey Shakes announces his presence in the chat. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, Joey? Appreciate you stopping by, man. As you did with AK the other night, I heard y'all kicked ass in the call-in. So, yeah. Thanks. It's good to see. It's good to see the content creators that I've already done work with in the past, and and it's still good to see the support that I have. When you talked about the hiatus that I went through and everything that happened externally, outside of my channel, it's still good to see guys like Joey and BPS and other content creators just sticking around to hearing what I have to say. That's the best part about what I do, because again, it's a family outside of family, but it's up to us to still carry that mold and be humans, to look out for each other. But
listen, man, you're
getting me going again on that. You're getting me going again on that.
Hey, you always got a place here, man. You know that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm grateful for it every day. Even though I've neglected my channel a couple of times now, and some of it's in my control, some of it's out of my control. But it's
family first.
Yeah, I can only like you reach your lowest point, but you can only go up from there. So.
Yep.
As we come close to the 2 hour mark, we got two subjects left that is not going to render a lot of coverage, as I said, and we're going to try and just zoom through these two. We already know obvious answers here, but we're going to try and add some context to them that may support the argument. We don't know. I haven't said them yet, but in that press conference, it was asked of Nick Sirianni who he wants to retain in terms of his coaching staff, and certain name. There were certain names brought up. It was like Michael Clay, Shane Steichen, and Kevin Petula wasn't brought up in there. And it was a lot. It was mostly offensive in terms of coaching staff, but
Yeah.
they did ask about Jonathan Gannon, and respectfully so, because of the interviews out of nowhere that he's getting for a head coaching position. And I did have to. I think, and I might not have touched on this in the stream I had with Bird Gang yesterday. I don't remember, but I did have to say in the regard of, you know, in terms of Jonathan Gannon with these head coaching interviews, it could be a scenario where two things can be true. One, he can't he cannot be he cannot be well, let me try and rephrase this. It's possible that he can't be a good defensive coordinator, but it's also possible that he may be a better fit as a head coach. You, you know, like
Yeah.
you come into this space with, and you start off with a role, but when you're in that role, it's not necessarily fitting to what you're trying to accomplish. But there's qualities, like there's qualities internally or externally that outside people may see that could benefit your skill set in a way. So, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's what they see in Gannon in terms of from a head coaching perspective instead of a defensive coordinator. I don't know. Like I said, two things can be true. That could be very possible, but we don't know. All we see is what we're shown on the TV screen, and that he had a piss poor defense this year
Yeah.
in a lot of respects. And it wasn't very encouraging to me to hear the fact, and before I get into it any further, because Richie Mack goes, quote, get to know Lindy, unquote. Hey, Lindy, what the deal with the basketball trophy, a personal accomplishment? Yes, they are. So what makes me a little bit different in terms of Eagles content creation is that I was actually a basketball player, stemming from my childhood. So I have, let's see, one, two, three, four, five. I got five different trophies spanning from junior high to high school of championship teams, or second or third place teams that I was a part of. So I was a star basketball player at one point. So there you go. There you go. Basketball is my sport. Ball is life. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, like I was saying with Sirianni in this conference with Jonathan Gannon, it wasn't really encouraging to hear the fact that he that Siri likes the coaching staff that he has in place. And it was irritating to a degree to me that he's still okay with Jonathan Gannon being there. But I understand the flip side about it at the same time. And it's not just the coordination of the defense, but it's also building a rapport with those that you work with
Hmm.
uh, in the organization. And like I said, it's not just with the players, but it's also with the rest of the personnel and the coaching staff that you're surrounded with. And I don't want to try to sound like I'm coming to Gannon's defense here,
Yeah.
but if memory serves me correct, didn't Jonathan Gannon suffer some of the same symptoms that Jim Schwartz had? in terms of the lack of talent that he had to work with and the scheme that he wanted to run. He couldn't run to 100% because of the players that he was working with. I mean, that's one area that you could put two and two together. But and on another flip side, you could also say that it's not necessarily an excuse, and you're put in that position for a reason. You were hired for a reason, and sometimes you work with what you have to work with, and you still have to give something for the organization to build upon. And majority of people are in agreement in saying that what Jonathan Gannon showed us, coordinating that defense from that standpoint is not really enough to say that we want him back here for 2022. What do you think?
I walk a fine line on that because dude, you made all the points I would make. No lie. Listen, I understand a lot of people called for blitzing, but in all honesty, we didn't have the personnel to blitz. Our linebackers' strong suit that are on this team, other than like TJ Edwards, is they're not blitzers. They're really not. Avery's.
And when we blitzed, who was doing most of the blitzing? It was either Rodney on rare occasion or it was Alex Singleton.
Yeah,
and they barely applied any pressure.
Yeah, so this team wasn't built to blitz, and that's why he didn't blitz a lot. He tried to play to the strengths, but I'm with you, dude. Like, the talent on this team was not that good. It really wasn't. And he only had a limited amount to work with. We didn't have a lot of cap last year. We couldn't make an impact in free agency, and draft picks is hit and miss. It just all depends on when you take them. Now, granted, that's their fault. They didn't take a linebacker in the first round for 40 years, or 30 years, whatever. It's ridiculous. Like, you got to take chances on that sometimes. I mean, look what Dallas did with Parsons. It paid off. There's a lot of first-round talent linebackers out there who have paid off. We need to take that chance, and this is probably going to be that draft. I pray to God it's this draft. But,
and we even needed some of the young players that just got drafted to give us some depth, and that was even difficult in itself.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a lot of – it was a lot to throw on a rookie defensive head coach. Like, no lie, it was a lot to throw at this man, and he did the best he could with what he had. That does not mean, like you said, that he is a bad coach. He just got dealt a shitty hand. I believe if he stays here and he gets what he wants in the draft, he'll make this defense look a lot better next year, especially if it's the right pieces, But I hope he does get a head coaching job, honestly. I do. I don't want to see him go, but I do want to see him go. I don't think he is a bad coach. I'm with you. I think he got dealt a bad hand, which is fine, but if he ends up going, man, there's only I've heard, Vic Fangio. I've heard, just
Fangio, Mike Zimmer,
all these guys. But listen, man, there's one dude I'm keeping my eye on. And there's one dude I've always had my eye on since they brought him back. Houston fired their head coach. Now, who they bring in, it all depends on if they keep Lovie Smith or not. I am a huge advocate for Lovie Smith. I love his defenses. And I'm telling you, if they fire Lovie Smith as a defensive coordinator in Chicago and JG gets a head coaching job, I want Lovie Smith. I believe Lovie Smith would bring an element to this defense that we haven't seen in a long time. Like Jimmy Johnson type defense, and we need that again. So I'm all for bringing Lovie Smith to Philly if they get rid of him.
Well, if they get rid of him, and if the front office does what they should and give said coordinator, whoever it is, the proper personnel they need to run their scheme. I mean,
plus, if you bring a vet in like that, they can help Nick too. Don't bring in a young guy. Bring in a veteran defensive coordinator like Vic or Zimmer or Lovie Smith, who has been a head coach before. They can help him develop as a head coach as well.
I mean, Gannon could have at least had a defensive assistant. Like,
Yeah,
did he even have one?
I
No.
don't think
Like,
so.
who was helping him out? What,
Right?
like, who was helping him out? Tracy Rocker, Denard Wilson. Like, we didn't get any of that kind of information. Like,
Yeah.
what were those guys doing in terms of their personnel group and like
Yeah.
in the aspect of coaching? I mean, I'm not going to throw their feet to the fire either.
Right.
Of course, I think Denard Wilson did a damn good job because, uh, Avonte Maddox got himself a contract extension,
Right.
and part of that is on coaching. Darius Slay was a Pro Bowler. Part of that's on coaching. Defensive line, Javon Hargrave looked damn good as a defensive tackle this year for what it's worth, even though he wasn't consistent in the end. That's a part of coaching, and that's also a part of talent. So, I mean,
By the way, real fast, I want to add something to that. Do you guys, and I don't know if most people know this or not, but do you know that Avonte Maddox had the best, I want to
yes,
say it was passer rating, was it, as a slot corner at 71%?
yeah.
Like, against the coverage, he was number one in slot.
I think he had a 91 score from Pro Football
Yeah.
Focus, like an overall grade. I think he was like a 91 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did
Yeah,
damn.
his pass deflection and his pass coverage, he was at 71% for a slot corner, ranked number one. That's truly amazing.
Well,
That is amazing.
I mean that happens when you
And
have
he didn't
someone
make the
playing
Pro Bowl.
well, that happens when someone's playing at their natural position.
Right?
Nikel Roby Coleman's not there anymore, and
Yeah.
you put Avante where he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not rocket science sometimes,
Yeah.
but oh man. So, all right. Well, I think everybody knows where we both stand in in terms of Jonathan Gannon on his possible retention or departure based on
Yeah.
what happens with these head coaching interviews and I don't necessarily know I don't necessarily think he did enough to retain his job as a defensive coordinator, but you know when it is said that Sirianni likes the coaching staff that he has, and and part of this you have to throw blame on Nick too, because this was one of his guys. This is one of the guys that Sirianni wanted, and well, I mean, how often? Uh, and I don't want to say how often, but how can I put this? You know, Doug Peterson lost that kind of he lost that kind of privilege, if I can put it that way,
Mhm.
in respect to wanting specific personnel on that coaching staff, and it he started losing that privilege over time with with certain people that he had, and well, don't get me started on the quarterback coach. So I think I don't want to say the same thing is happening here with Sirianni, that he's off to a bad start with Jonathan Gannon, but you know it's it's hard because you're going 50-50 on this.
Yeah.
150 is the fact that you're giving this guy inadequate talent to work with, and you're like trying to tell him to polish a turd. It's just not going to work.
Right.
And the other 50,
Doesn't matter. You should have been able to handle it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that was the other 50 that I had.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I
No,
had a
that was it.
I had
Yeah,
a really
you're right. You're right.
yeah. I don't remember the other 50, but yeah. But so that'll lead us into the final discussion here, as we have reached over the 2 hour mark, and there's still three dedicated people listening to this entire presentation, and um, I'm
Appreciate
very
it.
I'm very thankful for that. And I have to give it up. Part of it's due to AK being here, and and extending the entertainment, because I mean we put on a I think we put on a damn good show every time that we're together. And like you do with Vic 3 and Philly Foothills for East Meets West. And it's sometimes it's hard to find that good kind of collaboration to keep conversations going, so long as the content is there. Some people
Yep.
don't have it, I don't know. And it's not a knock on people, but sometimes the ability to have that kind of attention span's not really there. You get lost in conversation, and then you forget what you're talking about, and then it's like being on a merry-go-round, that you're listening to the same thing for 10 minutes at a time, that you can't branch out to other topics. And
Yep.
you know of course, I mean, hey, I'll thank
Yes, you're
everybody.
right, man. It is the knowledge you bring too. I mean, there is certain people that just don't know the things you know, and it's harder to talk about those things. So when you have two people that know a lot and you put them in the room, well, shit happens.
Well,
And
I like to I like to I like to say, and this is to a fault, but I have a problem with setting myself to a high standard in the means of a perfectionist. And I'm the kind of person where I have to be all or nothing. And it could be a pretty negative detriment
Mhm.
sometimes. But I understand that if I'm hosting a show, the majority of that flow goes through me, and I
Yep.
have to keep the two of us going. So, and a lot of times that's difficult for people to carry out. And especially when stage fright kicks in. And for example, if it was 30 people instead of being in this show, I have to I'm kind of treating that three I'm treating that three like it's 30 or 300 at the
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because it's good to have that kind of simulation sometimes. But
Exactly.
before I continue to ramble on of off-topic things, and getting real again,
Yeah.
let's get let's get into this last topic of discussion here, because it's about where the team may be going forward here. Players that are on contracts that have expired. And I think everybody has a grip on who they want gone, even though the front office may not think so, or the coaching staff may not think so, and that would be very unfortunate and nerve wracking. But there is a select group of players that we do not want to see here anymore. Including them and the expired contracts. We do know that both Rodney McLeod and Anthony Harris, their contracts have expired. We've known for the longest time that we have neglected to upgrade the safety position. Marcus Epps has only finished, I think, his third year in the league. Kayvon Wallace is still growing as a player. Those guys are not starting caliber safeties. You
Yep.
know, the practice squad guys aren't even there yet. And we also understand that we were on borrowed time with Rodney. And it got even worse when Malcolm Jenkins left.
Yeah.
So, we have a big decision to make there. Safeties, I mean, I would have to think safety is just as important as linebacker, even though a lot of teams don't value the safety position very high. What are we going to do when that kind of crap hits the fan? And we
Yeah.
think we have it bad at linebacker right now. Wait until the possibility that we don't pick back up Rodney McLeod or Anthony Harris. It's
I
it's,
got you.
it's gonna get even worse.
I
So
got your answer to that.
yeah,
I got your answer to it. Listen, man, I've said it all along, and we did a mock draft last night, and I've said it all along. I'm only going defense in this draft. Okay,
yeah,
I'm either taking Lloyd or Neal with 15. I'm taking Jordan Davis at 16, and I'm either taking Booth or Sauce at 19. Okay. And then with my second pick, I'm taking Klein from Georgia, the safety.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next pick after that, we went with another linebacker. I want to say we went with the guy from LSU.
Yeah, I haven't
Like
done
that.
much.
Yeah, but we went with another linebacker, and then the pick after that, we went with Smoke Monday, hard hitting safety. So that
Okay.
gives you Klein, Kine, and Smoke Monday as your new two safeties to compete back there with Epps and whoever else they decide to keep.
That is true, Richie. That is true. Unfortunately, being it's a part of the work week, I don't have 24 hours, so that's why I had to make it a last topic. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, dedication like that's difficult to carry out, and it's hard to find. But yeah, no, man, I do agree with that. But we also get in the back of our mind that like like how he said in the presser today, and I couldn't stand to hear, and this was something else that I wanted to bring up that I forgot about. But with you mentioning mock drafts and who you want to pick, it, it irritated me to hear that Howie is still going to follow the system that they have in place, because one of the writers brought up the question to the fact that we haven't drafted a first round linebacker since 1979. And with him sticking to their system in place, that leads me to believe that they haven't done it in the past, and they're not going to do it now, because that's just it's just sad, because that's what Howie's system is that they just don't value the linebacker and safety position the same way that they value the defensive and offensive line. And it's a damn shame, because we just year after year we continue to neglect the same skill positions that cost us from winning football games on the defensive side of the football. And that's the worst part in hearing something like that. But
we'll get
yeah,
one, Cindy. Don't worry. We will get one. I promise you. We will
um,
get one. Whether it's in the first or the second, we will get one. Because you got there's still some good linebackers in the second. I mean, you got Braden Smith from Penn State. You got that dude from LSU. You got the other guy. But I mean, even if you go a Jobu at 15 and Jordan Davis at 16, and you address the line, I'm okay with that, because we need edge people. But the whole point is go defense. And, I hear a lot of people sitting out there saying, like, what if we trade away our 19th pick for next year's first? No, I don't give two shits about 2023. I want my team built now. If you have Sauce Gardner sitting there, or you have Booth, or you have anybody worth top end talent, you do not trade that pick away. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking for my team to be built now. I want my team to win this year coming up. I don't give two shits about 2023 at this point. I'm looking just at this year coming up. And if that talent is there, you do not trade that pick away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will note that I did see Kayvon Wallace tweet about how he would love the Eagles for them to draft Booth, because they know each other very well, and he's already endorsed him as a great person, but a great football player as well. And I believe that, but I still have to do my homework in terms of like mock drafting and players that that I would like to see, because and it's only fair throughout the course of the regular season, and depending how far this team goes into the playoffs, is that that's where my primary focus is, and I get so dialed into it that here around now is a good time to analyze who the experts are looking at in terms of the top players, and doing a little bit of homework and film study, and what type of guys we feel and I feel would be best fits for what this football team needs from a talent standpoint and a schematic standpoint. So
Yeah.
yeah, I still have some work to do there, and
Same here.
we still have it. On another note, and speaking of the draft, before we close this out, AK and I still have it up in the air. I don't know if we made a complete decision on this, but in terms of draft coverage this year, like we did last year in the very beginnings of our channels. This is when AK was just trying to come into the YouTube scene, and he was almost there. He didn't have his channel at the time, but AK and I are, we're in the works. It's up in the air, and trying to give you guys the 2022 NFL draft coverage. And you guys will have to let us know if that's the tandem you want to see, or it's up to AK and I if that's the road that we want to go down. But that idea is up in the air. So whether you can have excitement, hold it, whatever you want to do. But yes, that was an idea that we have come up with, and for you guys to possibly look forward to. And then to continue closing this out with other notable contract expirations, and we already know about Derek Barnett, with his fifth-year option, the $10 million that he stole. That's an easy one. He's got to go. That experiment failed. One of the first-round blunders of Howie Roseman. That's a no-go. I believe.
No, can I ask you a real quick question before you move on from him? Just real fast. You can answer it real quick, too. Can we really put that on Howie, though? Because, listen, Derek Barnett has all the talent in the world. I don't know what the fuck went wrong with him. Like, I put more of his screw up on himself than Howie, because he has the talent. Hell, you saw it in Tennessee. I don't know what the hell happened to this kid. He just didn't pan out to be what we thought,
I mean, I guess there's a irresponsibility there in him upgrading his bag in terms of his skill set. Like, the only real move that he has depended on all these years was some kind of twitchy athletic move that just doesn't work against bigger left tackles. I mean, come on, dude. You're looking like a carousel over there. You're
all the personal fouls. Oh my God.
It's just no. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done. You didn't do enough to hold your roster spot. And well, we think that, but he did get that fifth-year option. But water under the bridge. All we know is that he's got to go.
Yes.
And with him going, and the future up in the air for Brandon Graham, and the progress or regression that some of these rookies have made in their first year, we know defensive line depth is hurting. We know that possibly defensive tackle depth could hurt based on a Fletcher Cox decision. But according to Howie Roseman today, it seems to me that Fletch is staying. So I'm not really opposed to that, but
trade bait.
His contract's got to get restructured, because for what he's making annually, he doesn't do enough from a disruptive standpoint to justify the money that he makes a year and the cap hit that the team suffers from. Well, of course, I mean, we gave him that contract, but there's an obligation to it on the field, and his production just doesn't meet those numbers. It is what it is. So I mean, but again, defensive line depth like that, It's not easy to come by because they got to buy in. They got to be a fit for what you do, and they got to do a better job of consistently winning matchups in that regard. And Fletch can be disruptive. And for a while there, all this time, we have talked about, well, he doesn't have a number two with him to take all the attention away because, the excuse for the longest time is that, Fletch gets double teamed. He gets double teamed. It's constant. He's always working with the double team. Well, now that he's got Javon Hargrave has only been here going into his third
Second year.
So he's going into his third year next season, and he's had what? How many sacks this year? 7?
7.5.
As a defensive tackle, that's ridiculous. So, and this isn't to say that Fletch is washed up and that he's too old. No, because he's only 31, going on 32, I believe. It's not really old for a guy of his stature that is still playing at a decently high level. Is he the disruptive tackle that he used to be as a Pro Bowler? No, but at points he still gets the job done. It's just not as consecutive anymore. So I don't think we're hurting as much if Fletch still stays here because in a sense, that buys us time to figure out the depth that we have behind guys like Fletch and Javon Hargrave. And I still think that's as important. When we want to develop guys like Milton Williams and we want to continue to see the evolution of Josh Sweat and Teron Jackson and Patrick Johnson and drop these guys back down to an edge spot every once in a while, even though their stature doesn't meet that kind of mold. Patrick and Teron are a little bit smaller. That's why they were flexed to a linebacker spot every now and then. It's trying to figure out what you have on this roster, and you can't accomplish that if you don't have the stability of the primary trench. So no.
No, I agree, man. I do, and I know we need edge. I know we need DTs. Ridgeway is probably gone. More than likely, he's completely gone. He damn near did nothing this year. Kerrigan's gone. Yeah. Barnett's gone. Like we said, hopefully BG comes back for another year. Not sure where he stands yet.
Well, statistics say this year we missed him quite a bit.
Yeah, so that matters. He is the heart and soul of this defense. So, we're going to need edge. And that's why I wanted Jordan Davis, man, because Jordan Davis to me is like a modern day Warren Sapp. He's real big. He's 6'6", 350 pounds, and he runs a 4.4. Like, he's fast. Super, super fast. And he's super strong. Yeah, and he's super strong. Like, that's my lotto on the opposite side. Now you got a my lotto on defensive line. Like, I want that. Like, granted, he only had 2 sacks in the year, but he's great against the run. Like, no lie, bro. He took on triple teams and still stopped guys behind the line of scrimmage on triple teams. He's that big. Like, this guy could be a huge factor for us for years to come, and that's an easier way to let Fletch go. Because
what were the 2 things that we were affected by the most in the departure of Brandon Graham? It was the run defense and applying pressure.
Yep.
Both of those disappeared at a very high rate as soon as Brandon Graham left that trench.
And when you got a guy who's 6'6", 350 pounds, and you have to double or triple team him, what's that do for everyone else? Because you're not going to be able to triple team Jordan Davis in the NFL. Because then you're going to kill your quarterback. So you're going to have to double team him, and if you double team him, he's going to eat that alive. So what are you going to do? You bring BG back, you bring Cox, and you put Hargraves next to him. What, you going to triple team all 3 of them? Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would probably go against him is the fact that on that D line, I would think the opposing offensive linemen are going to be told that, with a guy that size, the taller they are, the lower you're going to have to go to match their center of gravity, so to speak. And
Yeah.
when you talk about a guy that size, I mean, we already seen in that playoff game what Vita Vea was doing to Jason Kelsey, and that was the best center. That was the best center in football. He was giving the work to. So you can only imagine against lesser talent what a guy like that would do to disrupt an offensive line. But again, that comes down to development.
Yeah. But I mean, you can tell just by watching this kid, though, that the strength, the athleticism, everything's there. Like, it's all there, you know. So, but yeah, I'm definitely intrigued because I believe Hargraves and Jordan Davis for the next 6 years would be probably the most disgusting duo inside you've ever seen. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it could be. And, you know, I mean, we could continue to cover a lot more things with birds and you know, and I understand it gets a little bit repetitive the longer it gets into a presentation, but you know,
Nelson's gone too, by the way.
Yeah, who's that?
Nelson's gone too, by the way. Just want to add that in there.
He's probably going to look for the bag elsewhere, which that is going to be a loss. I don't know why people are saying we're not going to miss Steven Nelson. We're going to miss him.
I don't think you'll miss him if you get Booth or Sauce, though.
No, but they're going to want to try and justify the Zach McPherson pick, and I just don't think he's ready yet. So, you know, you're going to have to figure out what you have right now, and you know, Slay's going to be due for another extension soon, and he's
okay with that. I'm okay. Absolutely. Hey, give him a 3-year contract. That way, you know, if he plays at a good year next year, and then you start seeing him drop off the next year after that in 2 years, you can just let him go for nothing. You know, but he can grow Sauce or he can grow Booth. You know, he can teach them, develop them. He's also a very big developmental piece to our wide receivers, you know, because he can help them develop. He can help our young corners develop. He can help our free safeties develop. All around, Darius Slay means the most the next 3 years. That's the guy you need to lock down, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people have to understand, you know, with the fear of extending Slay, if you can even put that in the same sentence,
right.
But you know, the biggest fear in that is age, and you know, and people are like, well, we don't want to fall down this rabbit hole and it creating a trap again. Well, this isn't the same situation as a Richard Sherman or Josh Norman. You know,
he had his best year by far this year.
Yes,
this year was his best year out of all 8 years he's played. This is his best year. He ain't moving down.
Well, how many Pro Bowl seasons has he had in totality between Detroit and Philly? So, I mean, statistically, out of all of his Pro Bowl years, this has to be at least his first or second best.
Right.
I mean, that's saying something, especially with the first-year defensive coordinator and him having to hold down the secondary group the way he did when really the only other comparable veteran on that roster in terms of support was Rodney McLeod.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn impressive if you ask me. So in terms of an extension, Slay is worth every bit of what he's going to ask for.
How much do you think he's going to ask for?
I don't know.
Do you have a dollar yet? Like rough, what's your rough estimate for it? What will it cost us?
I don't know, because we thought he was expensive when we traded for him because of the length of the length of the contract was so short, but it was a heavy dollar amount. So, man,
what did he cost us this year? Do you know?
I don't remember. I thought I didn't.
Was it like $8 million or something like that?
Well, didn't I hear something that it was along the lines of $81 million over 3 years, and he was the highest paid based on the length of the contract? I thought it was something along those lines. So, I'm in fear of thinking that he is going to look for Jalen Ramsey type of money, but it would be on a lesser deal. Like I would have to imagine that this would be another 2 to 3 year contract, because I don't know if I see him playing past 35 or 36 at the same level. But whatever Slate asks for,
Give him.
give it to him.
No,
He's
no,
worth
you're right, bro. I actually compared this to us having our own Daryl Revis with the Jets.
Darrell Revis.
Yeah,
Revis Island.
this is our Revis Island. We finally
Revis
have our
Island.
Revis Island. You got him on the back end of his career, and he's playing really freaking good. Like, this is your Daryl Revis. Lock it down. Get what you can out of him while you still got him. You know what I
And
mean?
and again, don't give me the excuse of strength of schedule either, because
Yeah.
no, you still have to play football. You
Yep.
still have preparation to do. Anybody like Sirianni said at the presser today, anybody can win and anybody could lose.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. So, man, we covered so damn much today that
Yeah.
it was almost close to excess of 3 hours of a presentation that we gave these kind folks that stuck around on the channel. And I thank y'all for hanging out with AK and I for almost 3 hours of us just going back and forth in good conversation. I mean, a single collaboration with just a two-person panel here of content creators spanned for almost 3 hours. You don't see that. You don't see that all that often. And for what it's worth, because again, the viewership comes and goes, but at least for me to see that I have consistency here, that's what's most important. And I thank you guys for hanging out as long as you did. But all good things must come to an end at some point, and we covered a whole damn lot of content here today, and there's still a lot more to go over because we're getting new news every day now that the off season is here. We still have to hear from Jeffrey Lurie, and we still have to hear from other personnel within the Eagles organization. We still have mock drafts to create. We still have free agency to look forward to. We still have these contractual decisions to watch over and hope that the team extends, re-signs, or gets rid of players that we think fit or do not fit the team going forward. There's a lot of us still. There's a lot for us to still go over, but we can't do it in one night sometimes. So,
Can we hit one more question real fast, though? Just one.
Go ahead.
It's Jinx's last one, because this is one I actually do want to get your opinion on. Because I did bring this up, and it's funny that he's saying it because he heard it from me. All right, say at 19 you're sitting there, and we heard about the trading it for a 2023 first round pick, right? What if Ajobu is gone? What if Sauce is gone and Booth and no one's really there that you're intrigued with? Instead of trading it for a first round pick next year, would you be opposed to giving that to Chicago for Khalil Mack and then bring Khalil Mack to Philly? I granted he had his foot surgery and, he didn't play this year, but we know who Khalil Mack is and how disruptive he can be. And if the draft would fall the way I just said too, if you could get Lloyd or Neal as linebacker and then Jordan Davis, if you had Jordan Davis, Hargraves, BG, and Khalil Mack, dude, that's a defensive line you won't want to step in front of. With Cox as well. Yeah. That's amazing. So if those top end talents aren't there, I'm not opposed to giving up a first for Khalil Mack because we're that desperate for edge rushers. But
no, I'm necessarily not either. I'm not opposed to it either necessarily. But of course it comes down to what the roster construction looks like, and there's going to be a lot of determining factors, and I think And I think one of the bigger factors is, what this team is thinking at that point in time. Are we, and of course, this question on Twitter is just getting ridiculous. With some people saying that the Eagles are a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Stop it. No, absolutely not. No, we're not a quarterback away. So, and
I
that's
know what you're smoking. That's all I'm saying.
and that's what they're also going to have to ask themselves. I mean, in terms of improving the defensive line, are we an edge rusher away? Are we a linebacker away? And so on and so forth. So I guess it would ultimately come down to the importance of adding, of using assets and acquiring that kind of talent at that point in time. And like I said, it's also going to depend on the roster construction. If BG is still here, if Fletcher Cox is still here, who ends up getting cut, who ends up not getting a reserve futures deal. The depth at that position ultimately determines what your decision is going forward. And to me, time will tell. But as a general answer, I would not be opposed to Khalil Mack, but I still have to find out what the depth is
Yeah.
at that point in time.
Awesome. Okay. That's all. Sorry. You can
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, I just wanted. Yeah, I wanted to. And then yeah, I don't also like leaving questions unanswered in the comments. So yeah, it was good that you pointed it out. I wasn't ignoring it on purpose, but I'm kind of on a little bit of a time crunch here since we're getting close to the 3 hour mark, and you never know. You never know with these kinds of streams, man, where it's going to go. But as long as we're doing what we need to do, and we have the audience to do it, that's what matters at the end of the day. But speaking of end of the day or end of the night, in that regard, that is now going to officially conclude episode 4 of Touchdown Talk with myself, Lindy Endzone, and again, my guest today being good friend AK, who runs the Eagles Uncensored podcast. We're not afraid. We're not afraid, to say it like it is, and however it may come out. One of the Wagyu masters himself. But yeah, in all seriousness, man, we've kind of, ever since the beginning, we kind of trained with each other in those lesser streams to get to this point, and the experience has shown pretty well where we feel like we're naturals at this now. And we can't help but to feel proud of the success that we have done. And again, it happened this evening, and I was glad to have you. Back on. It was long overdue.
I appreciate you, man. Anytime you call, bro, I'm there. It's always a pleasure talking football with you. I learn something new all the time when we talk. That's what football's about. You always learn something new, and you bring a lot of knowledge to this game. It does not matter how many subs you have, dude. Your subs do not come close to what you know. So don't even worry about it, man. Like I said earlier, you got a home here. You got our respect as content creators. We all love what you bring to the table. Don't even worry about your subs, bro. You bring a lot more than that. So
And as always, I appreciate any kind of support that comes my way. It's appreciated at the end of the day. But as I have said a couple of times before in the show, ladies and gentlemen, bird brothers and sisters, do not be afraid to go and give my guy AK over here a look on his channel, because again, it's another Eagles content creator bringing his own uniqueness to the table when it comes to the content he provides with the whether it's the podcasts he has, the long tenured call-in shows, and the recent fundraiser that he had to support a good friend of his. Um, you know, it's that kind of you have you have the nature of that content, and then you also have the intelligence to talk about our favorite team that we share when you need it. So be sure to look, be sure. Just take a couple of clicks. See the kind of content that he is giving out. And if you like it, subscribing is free. And it's just that extra boost of confidence, to let us know that we're doing a good job, and we have a fan base, and we have an audience to entertain. It goes a long way. So with that said, I think I did a good enough conclusion there. I am actually going to get right out of here once the episode concludes. I would love to hang and talk for an additional 5 minutes, man, but you
No
know,
problem.
um, you know, my bed's calling, my work is calling the next day, and I've taken a bigger, important role at the work, the kind of work that I do. So I'm a little bit important. I'm a little bit important right now. But
That's
yes, with that said, episode 4 is officially concluded. Everybody, thank you for Touchdown Talk becoming a thing, and giving me an audience. And with that said, for AK and myself, Lindy, Fly Eagles Fly, Bleed Green. Not for AK, go Mavs, MFFLs. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Please look out for one another. Stay safe, stay healthy. Um, see you guys next time. Have a good night.
peace.